The Tour de Brisbane.
Good morning everybody and welcome to the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane for 2022. An exciting morning here for us, the elite men lining up in King Street, ready for what is going to be hopefully a beautiful day for them today. Nice blue, clear skies and an exciting course. Lots of infrastructure being used today for the course, as we saw last year. So an exciting race and lots of people very excited and anticipating the 2022 Tour de Brisbane, which today is incorporating as well the Oceania Championships. So a lot to race here for, and a lot of New Zealanders and individual riders we're taking on some of the stronger teams in the main fields. We're almost at start time, and commissaires and officials getting all the boys into line before the convoy sets off out of King Street. Lots of anticipation this morning from also some of the under-23s. We saw yesterday some great performances in the Oceania time trial. So a lot of these under-23 boys obviously racing in some of the stronger teams throughout the Tour de Brisbane. But the Oceania Championships should be an exciting day for them out throughout this amazing course that we've put together with Tour de Brisbane. Informed TMX make, of course, their team captain and Brenton Jones and Blake Quick, a few riders we are anticipating to be aggressive today. The ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast team as well. This is sort of their backyard and their hometown race course for them today. It's going to be exciting to see how they perform. And of course, Oliver's Real Food Racing, local team Tandem Coffee Co. and Bridgelane will be dominant forces, we feel, in this lineup today. Soon they will be getting underway. Convoy is in place, and the RNA Showgrounds here in Brisbane this morning looking an absolute picture in the backdrop of the King Street precinct and the Oceania Road Race of 2022 about to get underway here in Brisbane this morning. Beautiful weather conditions, should be a nice fresh start. Lots of Tour de Brisbane Fondo riders as well lining up and getting ready, so they'll see this elite action take off very soon here in King Street. We're looking through the crowds this morning. Team convoys and driver proceedings very busy getting neutral spares in, lots of feeds. I'm not sure whether radios will be used today in the elite race, but that is certainly team tactics for the Oceania Championship of 2022. Will be extremely exciting. They roll away out of King Street, neutral race conditions at the moment until they get out onto course. Commissaire will then bring the flag in, and a big field there, under 23s and elites all combined. One race. They will be awarded separate prizes today and separate awards for the age groups. But Team Bridgelane there, toying with the camera and enjoying the neutral zone down through King Street and down through the CBD area of Brisbane before they head across that iconic Story Bridge this morning and enjoying some closed roads racing throughout inner city Brisbane and out around onto the Western Freeway, and of course the iconic climb today of Mount Coot-tha, which is going to be a pivotal part or a tactical part of the race today for these guys. Nero Pro Racing as well. Nero's having Ben Carmen involved in the race today. Great to see Ben back racing. And also Miles Stewart raced for the Friday night criteriums here in King Street and did an amazing job in a three-person breakaway with Informed TMX make, Nero and ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast. A three-person breakaway which was successful on Friday night. Not sure how the boys rested up. Some elected to miss out the time trial yesterday. So obviously this Oceania road race is very important for them today. It's a tactical one. It's going to be an exciting one. And we're very pleased and we're very privileged to be bringing you some of these pictures live from the Tour de Brisbane and the 2022 Oceania Road Championships here around Brisbane today. Not sure where look those though, they're just still under neutral. Group still nice and compact through the back streets of Fortitude Valley as they head towards the Story Bridge. And lots of infrastructure and behind the scenes planning to give these riders this privilege to enjoy Brisbane. They are getting almost closer to the Story Bridge now. Bridge Lane enjoying this neutral service or neutral race zone, positioning themselves and just talking at the front of the group. We are not under race conditions yet for the elite men race, making their way through Fortitude Valley there. You can see some of the tunnel exits and the boys enjoying this infrastructure to bring them out and onto the Story Bridge. You can see here the course map as they do leave Fortitude Valley, heading down through the River City, around Mount Coot-tha and out towards the Western Freeway. They do a U-turn there and make their way back towards Brisbane, towards the Mount Coot-tha climb. And this is their looped section. This will be a feature. Today the descent is very fast and very technical for this big group, and that'll be their repeated route for the duration of this Oceania Road Race Championship. Multiple laps around Mount Coot-tha and a tactical breakaway could be launched. And the Western Freeway, it's an undulating road surface. It's fast, it's very smooth, and we expect big speeds through there for this main peloton. And then once they've done all of that, for the final turn, they will come back through the tunnels in towards the RNA Showgrounds and a tactical little weave through the city back here to the RNA Showgrounds for them yet again. Rolling down through Brisbane on the parts of the inner city bypass at the moment. I think the red flag is about to come in. You can see the speed really picking up with the elite men, and they are into the first of their tunnels. Well, the red flag is still out. He's being swamped there by the riders. You can see the momentum and pace that the elite boys are carrying through these tunnel ways. Commissaire's not yet bringing in the red flag, so this is trying to just hold the crew to bring in the red flag and get under race conditions, but they are very excited to using these roadways. Exiting out now and back into daylight. A beautiful morning for them. We're so pleased. Yesterday we had some showers on and off, but today Brisbane is really turning on the weather for the Oceania Road Championships of 2022. And I think the flags are in and we have racing now underway as we start to see moves at the front and some single file formations starting. So the attacks and the speed up this little climb out of that tunnel section is pretty quick through the inner city bypass and heading out towards the Western Freeway for the very first time here today. They'll settle in. The team proceedings will even themselves out. ARA Pro Racing staying close near the front of the race, of course. They will have a very multi-pronged attack, I think, and of course their DS and staffing will be very enthusiastic to get a good result here today for them, being I guess one of their hometown advantage in southeast Queensland. These roads and infrastructure, though, the inner city bypass that we started with, never really open to bicycles. So the infrastructure and the planning that's been put together by city councils and the busway infrastructure as well for the Grand Fondo riders is really a credit to the organisers, and I'm sure the elite peloton will be enjoying this morning. Little lone breakaway there, trying to sneak away. Attack coming on the right hand side of the road. This is coming out of the Legacy Tunnel section and heading out onto the Western Freeway for the very first time. And we are seeing now the pace really picking up. Early breakaways could start, but with a big peloton behind them, it's going to be a very difficult accomplishment if they are to try and keep this race with momentum. Another tunnel section, so the draft and the wind not affecting them at all once they're underground and into these tunnel networks. So an exciting opportunity for the riders. Everyone taking turns and trying to make this small early breakaway work and keep the pace high. You can see the back end of the group as well. Very, very single file through these tunnels at the moment. Rolling way out of Brisbane too, we are seeing the elite women get underway. Inform TMX well represented at the front. There is Ruth Corset as well. Ruth rode very well in the Tour Down Under event in Adelaide recently, showing everybody that she is still very competitive in the elite women's ranks and aggressive as well. Her and Justine Barrow were having a real ding-dong battle down there around the hills of Adelaide in some of the King of the Mountain or Queen of the Mountain competitions and climbs. Also the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast girls. Yesterday we saw Danielle Di Francesco ending up in the top 10, fourth place I think overall in the Oceania Time Trial event. So her legs will be a little bit weary for today. But Di Francesco is certainly getting a lot more NRS experience and elite racing experience as well with this team. Her fiance Kane Richards, one of the feature riders for the team as well in the elite men. So the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast team are very competitive and very pipped to be involved with some of the pace setting today. Of course, Matilda Reynolds was super aggressive and a very strong riding display from her on Friday night in the King Street criteriums. Matilda, I saw her earlier this morning, didn't get a chance to speak with her, but very focused and a very dedicated rider is Matilda Reynolds from the Inform TMX team. Be interesting to see how she performs today and how she commands her team to look after breakaways and to follow some of the other teams and some of the other attacks. Girls here heading out through this inner city bypass infrastructure. It's a complex section of roadworks and bridges which weaves its way after the Clemsem Tunnel and then back around to the Legacy Way Tunnel. Red flag there still out from their commissaire car. Hayley Jones there, number 7 in the Live Giant race colours. Emily Herfoss just behind her in the Rock Salt race team colours. Emily Herfoss back to elite racing after motherhood recently. Keeping the girls very, very slow and very compact during this neutral race section up through the inner city bypass. A beautiful morning through Brisbane for them. The weather has really turned it on. We had some showers yesterday in the preparations for the lead up to this race. But Brisbane this morning and the Tour de Brisbane is getting blessed with weather conditions favourable for the elite women. Hopefully the car does appreciate the speed and momentum of these girls. The elite men were swamping their motorcycle as they headed downhill and into their first tunnel network sections. Let's hope the The neutral flag for the elite women are a little bit speedier because the girls will want to have the brakes off and want to get racing underway. Madison Taylor from the Live Giant team there, just sitting right at the back of the peloton, down into the first tunnel. This is where we saw the men's peloton catching up. Junior women will be coming onto screen shortly. Their race getting away just behind. Oh, this is junior women being held very tactically by the lead car and the neutral zone. Red flag still in through that first inner city bypass tunnel. This is an aggressive takeoff from the junior men. Look at the speed and cadence of this young rider down through the tunnels and really enjoying no wind and no outside elements on him, so they should be very sheltered in those tunnels throughout Brisbane. And the speed and cadence of this young rider, looks like Tyler Tompkinson from the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast team has really started to lift the pace of this junior race right from the outset when the neutral flag has come in. Everybody realising that Tyler has been riding super aggressively lately. He had a decent time trial yesterday for the Oceania Championships. They were held just outside of Brisbane at Rosewood, just beyond Ipswich. And now a counter-attack and more move and more speed from the junior men through the tunnel networks. Can tell they're junior men, and the gearing restrictions, really high cadence down through that network there. But they are rolling over turns quite nicely, all the stronger teams, and you can see the representation there of TMX, Inform, Make, ARA Pro Racing. So they've been recruiting well for these juniors. They've seen the potential in the riders, and they do know that they are stars of the future and stars in the making. So we are very excited to see how these guys perform today. Elite girls still being held in the neutral race section of the inner city Brisbane. There is Matilda Reynolds near the front. She's being shadowed and watched there by some of the ARA Pro Racing girls. They will be very intent to watch how the Inform TMX Make riders do attack. Ruth Corset sitting in there nicely, just in behind the first row. We are hoping soon that they bring the red flag in. The girls will be very excited to get under race pace. We saw the junior men just behind the elite men. They were really up to pace early. Cars making some distance now, so this should be us getting out of red flag zones and into race start for the elite women's race, the Oceania Championships of 2022 for them. Peloton there, nice and compact. Ruth Corset thinking about coming up. Matilda Reynolds is really the pace setter there on the right-hand side of the road for the girls. The left as we look at our pictures. Corset doesn't want to be too much near the front just early. Her team is a smaller team in complement. Inform TMX Make there being commanded and dictated there by Matilda Reynolds. Happy to just keep the pace very sedate at the moment as they head out of Brisbane. Once they make their way out onto the Western Freeway, that's when the pace and the attacks will start. We saw it early on too with the elite men really getting up to pace. Once the red flag did go in, they were swamping the motorcycle down through these tunnels. It's really a privilege and a great network for them to try and use some of these tunnel networks. But the elite men will be in the clear now and out onto the Western Freeway. They'll start to experience, if there are many headwinds out there today, what the breeze is like, how things are going to unfold for them. And they'll do repeat laps of that Mount Coot-tha feature, the very technical and very fast descent down the backside of Mount Coot-tha, past all the television towers, and into Brisbane again before they circulate around and repeat the Western Freeway loop. Here is the elite women's field making their way into that second tunnel infrastructure. I think that is the Legacy Way tunnel. Right across the road there, a privilege for the girls to enjoy this opportunity, I guess, in the infrastructure and the tunnels right through Brisbane. They will also pop out the other side onto the Western Freeway, repeating and following the same route as the elite men for their Oceania Championships of 2022. You can see the speed and the pace there. The commissaire enjoying the draft of the elite peloton as they head out now. And still in some shadows, the early morning start for them this morning, right just before 6 a.m. And they're only about 10 or 15 minutes into the race. They had a couple of minutes of neutral time down through the tunnelways. But this is the Western Freeway now. Closed to traffic today. Lots of signs notifying the public of Brisbane and southeast Queensland that this infrastructure will be used today for the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane. Women's race still being commanded there by Matilda Reynolds and the Inform TMX team. Shadowed there by one of the Sydney Uni girls right beside her, I believe. Lighting in the tunnel there being a little bit confusing on the colours of the jerseys, but still a tight group and a very decent peloton at the moment. I think once they move their way out into the daylight yet again of a beautiful Sunday morning here in southeast Queensland, the girls will be right up to race pace. Lots of convoy cars and flashing lights behind the girls. They start to weave their way out of this tunnel. They're almost at the end of this tunnel. Pace not really up so much just yet. Still fairly calm there from the elite girls. Two riders here trying to exercise a little breakaway off the front of the main group of their race. Inform TMX Make being involved in this early attack. Looks a little uphill there. The boys seem to be struggling. You can see the rider in second wheel position up and out of the saddle and rocking the bike a little bit. This will be one of the earlier climb sections on the Western Freeway. This is our elite men peloton. You can see their fashion of the race a lot tighter and every move being followed. Lots of people making it quite obvious as they roll off the front of the race that the next person, it's their turn to do the pace setting. A swarm of riders following down through. It's very thick back through the rest of the peloton. There looks to be Kane Richards from ARA Pro Racing. He's a taller boy trying to chase one of the moves here. This is the back of our peloton. They are on that climb, so heading up towards some of the Indrapilli area. ARA reacting here to this first little attack up and over the summit. They go right out a fair way on the Western Freeway. Some encouragement there too for the turns to start. So this could be a little bit of a move. I think that was one of the Giant Racing, could have been Joe Cooper. Oliver's Fresh Food Racing involved as well. Down and across one of the bridges on the Brisbane River. Out towards 17 Miles Rocks and the Jinda. area. So this little attack has some impotence to it. Cam Scott from ARA Pro Racing 2 raced very well Friday night. He was involved in the breakaway and he had a super aggressive sprint finish to that criterium and took the win. So the ARA staffing will be very pleased with that. This little 4-person or 5-person breakaway though, it doesn't involve Informed TMX makes, so they will be trying to put a guy up there or rather nullify this. Bridgelane rider has looked over his shoulder and seen that the peloton is all back on, so they'll regroup and then try to launch another attack or break something away, probably on the first climb. The climbers will be waiting for this first Mount Coot-tha part of the course. Further out towards Mount Oceania they keep going, heading westward on the Western Freeway. The pace is on with these elite men. Some of the New Zealand riders yesterday, we saw an amazing time by one of the Kiwis in the time trial for the Oceania Championships. So the Kiwis are here very, very strong. These are the junior men, 2-man breakaway here at the moment. Informed TMX, so they're going past the Moggle Road section. These two riders have, after the Tyler Tompkinson started something in the tunnels, he's been counter-attacked by 2 other riders. And they are starting to make a bit of a gap. Well, it's actually quite a gap. Quite a gap over the main group. So this really is time for these 2 young riders to seriously think about this and to work together well. And if they can get out of sight, they really will have an advantage over the rest of that group. Another little attack from the elite men, another 2-person attempt to try and break away further out towards Mount Oceania. We'll soon see the U-turn section, which they will turn around through. Looking back over their shoulder to see if it's going to be chased or reacted to by the main group. Motocom's here just watching the behaviour of that group. Informed TMX, this is the attack and this is the launch that they would try early. They have, of course, plenty of firepower in that team and they are one that should be taken very, very seriously. Little elbow there indicating let's start rolling turns. You can see the reaction coming from the main peloton behind them, snaking their way across. Some riders are trying to encourage their combatants to get out after this 2-person attack. Informed TMX, though, will be riding very tactically if they know one of their boys are up the road. Aaron Gate was the Kiwi, doing very, very well in the time trial. Well, actually, he won the Oceania Championships yesterday. Heading off onto the exit, so this will be their U-turn. Up and around some bridge infrastructure likely, and then turning to face back towards Brisbane for the first time, to take them back to Mount Coot-tha for the first time. This is our junior women's race. They are just entering the first of those tunnel networks, which we saw earlier on for some of the earlier grades. A smaller group on the road here, but plenty of enthusiasm and excitement from these young girls to get onto this Tour de Brisbane Oceania Championship course, and plenty to race for as well. There's some real talents in here. We are watching yesterday in the time trial, couple having a few little mechanicals. There's Isabel Carnes from the ARA Pro Racing. She was successful in the Oceania Championship time trials. Almost getting held up a little bit by some local traffic out on course, but Isabel riding very, very strongly towards the finish line on her time trial bike and being successful there in taking that Oceania title. Will she try and make it a double header today? Possibly. She will be speaking with her coaches and mentors from that team on how to conduct herself within this group, who is a likely suspect and who she must react to on the climbs of Mount Coot-tha. Coming back out of the tunnel now, back into the Sunday morning sunshine around Brisbane. Checking their shoulders and just making sure the group is not too far behind them. A very small group, so it'll be tactical today for these younger girls. Being a small peloton, Isabel Khan's trying to stay off the front and do as little as possible in these early stages. This is the elite women's race now, and they are well out onto the Western Freeway, out of the Legacy Way tunnel network. Still the group, you see some soft pedaling on the front there, still the group happy to keep the pace a little bit more sedate earlier on. We aren't seeing the big attacks we saw in the elite men. Looking over their shoulders, making sure who's where and what's happening as they take on the Western Freeway. Speed starting to just pick up a little bit from these girls. See some of the Sydney Uni Steminade race team. Josie Talbot was very powerful and aggressive against Matilda Reynolds on Friday night in the King Street criteriums. You can see there the back of the main group, a lot of girls just really happy to soft pedal along and keep pace with the easy start that they're enjoying. Here comes a little move, so the pace started to pick up. This is what we want to see in the Tour de Brisbane. This is an Oceania Championship event, and we do really want to get the pace up and running. A little bit more single file at the front, meaning the pace is on. Can't see too many white jerseys just yet of the informed TMX Make team. ARA Pro Racing there, sitting in second wheel position. Happy just to follow this little increase in speed. Georgie Howe yesterday rode very, very well also in the time trial. She won the Oceania Championship. And have a look at the beautiful Sunday morning blue skies behind the girls today. They see a little bit of sunshine across their shoulders there as they go over the Moggle Road Bridge. Back to our junior men breakaway here. Looking over there, seeing they have quite a big advantage so far over that main peloton. Tyler Compton can try to start something early in the tunnels, but these two riders have gone on to actually start a real serious breakaway and serious attack on their race. Junior women are starting to really pick up the pace as well. You see a nice little rolling train there of keeping pace through on the left-hand side and rolling away to the right. So that must be the fashion of the wind out there today. Very well drilled from these junior girls. Everybody contributing to the pace setting and everybody rolling over very nicely to take their turns. A well-organised group. Very sporting amongst them. Everybody's taking a turn and we're not seeing too many attacks or individuals or a two-up duo trying to launch attacks like we are seeing in the junior men. That is a big gap that they're enjoying. But this is a very well-drilled peloton. I'm not sure who's commanding this, but the girls are rolling over nicely to the right there. And the left-hand pace line really doing a great job of taking through. Everybody contributing. So the junior girls really exercising in a real pro peloton breakaway network. the behaviour of the bunch. There goes Carnes through to the front. She does her turn. Moving across nicely in front of Carnes, yes. So they're all, this small peloton, they're all contributing to the pace setting. The junior girls very well drilled here. Don't see this very often. Sometimes in the bigger groups with multiple team riders, you'll see different riders protected, or the feature rider being well looked after by the teammates and the domestiques. But this junior women's group really rolling over like a full, well-drilled team themselves. So great to see all the junior girls contributing to the pace setting early on as they head west out from Brisbane along the Western Freeway. We're seeing the elite women, bigger bunch, longer convoy there. A great shot at back of the convoy behind the elite girls, but their group a lot tighter there, and just a few girls at the front setting the pace and then thickening up behind them there. No real breakaways yet and no real intense speed from the girls. We have a look at the team standings here. Maeve Plouffe, she's not racing here this weekend. Ruby Roseman Gannon in the NRS series sitting in second place. She's obviously not here. She's moved on. So Georgie Howe has a really big weekend here. So a lot to race for. She's fourth overall. And Josie Talbot as well will be high on the proceedings, given that those top two riders aren't here this weekend. ARA Pro Racing in the women's teams are the top standing team currently on 958 points. The Knights of Suburbia Racing as well, a very aggressive team and very competitive, 627, and then third place, Informed TMX Make, and then Rock Salt, Liv Schramm, followed by the girls team of the Sydney Uni Steminade team. That's the team of Josie Talbot. Back to our elite women's race. This is one of the Tandem Coffee Co entrants. I think maybe one of the individuals racing today. Knights of Suburbia there. Ruth Corset, third wheel. Then Informed TMX. Then one of the Sydney Uni Steminade girls. Happy to set the pace as they start to climb towards that main summit where we saw one of the elite men's attacks earlier on. Starting to thicken up across the road, so some riders behind here want to really keep the momentum and pace up the climb as the other rider starts to get rolled over on her right shoulder. Back to the elite men's race. Another little attack here, heading back inbound towards Brisbane. Peloton here, a little fraggle. There's lots of movement at the front, trying to encourage somebody else to chase after this lone attack as they head back towards Mount Coot-tha. Maybe trying to get an early head start on the climb. 6:30 in the morning, still lots of riders leaving Brisbane in the Tour de Brisbane, but they will take a different route other than what we are seeing here from the elite races. And this little move from the front from this rider, this is a serious attack. He's on his own at the moment, but will he be joined soon by some pace setting off the front of the main group? They don't want to let him get too far away. Beautiful sunshine morning as they head back towards Mount Coot-tha. Yesterday some rain around Brisbane on and off was threatening. The riders will be very pleased that it's come out nice and clear today anyway for them to get underway for their first lap. They'll familiarise themselves with the course. The bunch is closing this downhill section, trying to shut down this early attack from this lone rider off the front. Here comes one of the Oliver's Real Food Racing guys, starting to close in 4 or 5 just off the front trying to jump across. One of the giant riders. ARA also represented. They've caught him up. So 1 now becomes 6. Will he get onto the back wheel of this group? Serious little attack climbing back towards Brisbane. As we're saying, this Mount Coot-tha section will be very tactical today for these riders. Angus Lyons on the start list today as well, riding with his team. I saw also this morning Dylan Sunderland riding here today. Dylan has been sneaking around, and he is a super experienced young rider. 3 more trying to springboard themselves out of the main group. This is the first time they will go up and over Coot-tha. So the climbers will start to think about how they conduct themselves on this climb. The teams will start to say, let's try and put our man up the road for KOM points, but let's also think about the Oceania Championship for 2022. Lots of teams being represented here at the front. Oliver's Real Food Racing doing the pace setting now. We'll start to see the featured climbers make their way forward as they come back towards Mount Coot-tha. He's the man that started the attack, so he did contribute, and he is maintaining himself in this breakaway very, very well. Still pace setting very nicely up towards this climbing section. They will exit left off this Western Freeway, having a big look back to see how far back the main peloton really is. This is super quick. You can see the incline that the riders are contending with, but they are still moving very, very fast. Arrows indicating there that towards the M5 Legacy Tunnel, so they will be leaving that roadway soon and heading left for this first climb. They'll get a, well, there is a beautiful view back over Brisbane on a clear blue Sunday morning skies, but they won't be too worried about the views. They'll be worried about the climb and the tactics. Here they are taking this left-hander and this exit route away from the Legacy Way Tunnel and towards Mount Coot-tha. Very bright for them as they head back in towards town. Junior men still heading westward. Also the elite women still heading westward, and the junior women still heading westward at the moment. This is the elite men. They are almost back to the Mount Coot-tha section. So here we go. Back towards Milton. This left-hander will be a tactical part and the start of the climb for Mount Coot-tha. They'll do multiple laps here today. This is the back of the peloton for the elite men. Very strung out, heading back in towards Milton. A view from the commissaire's car there, showing us the behaviour. Look at the speed too as they come back in towards this left-hander, and they start the climb as well. There we go. We're starting to see some of the numbers and riders involved in this breakaway group. It's now thickened up to be quite intense. Drew Morey there right at the back of the group. And also seeing there is Angus Lyons in the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast. So he'll be pleased that he has made this junction across. 2 Oliver's Real Food Racing riders in there as well, making the way through. This will be a tactical climb, first time through. Up and out of the saddle, the main group closing in on the breakaway group. So some of the climbers now are starting to really think of this, the tactics that will be involved in this Mount Coot-tha section. They'll do it multiple times during the race today. Now the pace starts to ease. Maybe they will all just familiarise themselves with the course. The main climb hasn't really started. They'll turn left yet again, take them up towards the lookout. And as I said, it's picturesque morning of Brisbane on a Sunday morning for our Oceania Road Championships. They won't have time to stop. They won't have time to take in the views, but they certainly will understand the climb. And during the race, more tactics and more team attacks will be launched over this King of the Mountain climb section. And the descent is super fast and super technical. We have seen some of the Fondo riders in earlier years having trouble with the descent. So that has been reviewed for the Fondo riders. And the more experienced Oceania Championship riders are the ones today that can handle that technical descent.
Good news for this age group is you don't have to race Robbie.
We're seeing another wave of riders line up for the Grand Fondo this morning, part of the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane. We just heard in the background Robbie McEwen enjoying the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane today as well, and encouraging everybody to not think they are in a race, but to treat it as a safe and enjoyable outing on their bikes today. So that's great that Robbie's up here and passing on his experience.
Vehicles coming through, guys, just behind you, 45 to 49 group.
Great beneficiary of the Tour de Brisbane as well is the Common Good, doing a lot of great work in the community and for fundraising for transplant research. The Common Good is a fantastic organisation and main beneficiary today of the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane. And we're really big numbers here again for this event. Obviously, it's a great opportunity to ride through some of the tunnels, and they get to do this Story Bridge as well, an iconic part of Brisbane, which is not normally open to bicycles.
Please be conscious, we have duathletes on the course.
Next wave about to set off, and plenty of R&A Showgrounds action here this morning with organisation and different distances as well involved in the Tour de Brisbane for 2022. Lots of exciting people there getting ready for the commencement of their ride today.
So our key focused areas are on heart disease, lung disease, mental health, dementia and organ transplant. So previously to partnering with NX Sports for the Tour de Brisbane, we actually ran our own charity ride, which was called the Cycle of Giving. It was a fantastic event and we were raising much needed funds for research into organ transplant. So that event wound down a couple of years ago, and we're absolutely thrilled to be the charity partner for the Tour de Brisbane, this year the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane. And so far we've raised nearly $70,000 towards medical research into key areas of health that really affect about 90% of Australians. So it's a really important cause.
So some more detail on that. What are the benefits that we're going to see, or what is the Common Good going to achieve out of being the charity partner with the Tour de Brisbane?
Yeah, so what's really, I guess, different for us is we know that every $44 funds 1 hour of medical research. So right now we've already funded through the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane nearly 1,400 hours of medical research. And our researchers are based in our labs just out at the Prince Charles Hospital. So we have a couple of those researchers riding tomorrow, and some of the work that we're actually doing in the space of heart disease. So there was a 4-year preclinical trial, and off the back of that and really dedicating those hours of research to that, we've actually had 13 lives saved just in the last 8 months or so. So our dedicated researchers have been focused on improving the viability of donor hearts. Normally a heart only lasts for about 4 hours, but through the work of our researchers, they've developed a new mechanism which means these really, really precious life-saving hearts can now last up to 8 hours. Gives us a chance to get those hearts to the people who need them in a better condition than when they became available, and a longer distance. Obviously Australia, tyranny of distance, the more hours we can have those hearts available, the better.
Cool. And the Common Good has done a lot of good. You're going to have a few patients of yours actually participating in the ride tomorrow.
Yeah, we are just so blessed to have people sharing their stories with us. So a big shout out to Kate Phillips. So Kate Phillips will be digging in for the 110 kilometre ride tomorrow, and it will be her 8th ride for the Common Good, which is incredible. She is a heart and double lung transplant recipient, and she will be tearing into that course tomorrow. So we're delighted to have her on the course again, and we've actually got a couple of our Common Good researchers who will be joining the ride as well. So it's a great event for Brisbane. It's a great event for tourism tourism, and it's a fantastic way to feel good while you're doing something really good for the health of our community as well.
Back to the elite men. They've already come up the first main section of Mount Coot-tha by the looks, starting to make their way around. Still all together, so we're not seeing any KOM urgency at the moment from teams or climbers really starting to attack early. Although there's been some damage done at the back of the pack already, so this is the first time up Mount Coot-tha. Now this is not good if you're in this position at the moment. You have a big chase to get back down the other side and then back out onto the Western Freeway to try and catch back up to the pace setters here at the front. ARA Pro Racing is pushing the pace along a little bit. Oliver's Real Food Racing, third wheel there, trying to maintain pace with these ARA boys who are trying to wind up the intensity on Mount Coot-tha. And we're seeing some of the damage being done at the back of the peloton. Here's the commissaire making his way forward with some of these riders who are struggling with the pace. Very tactical part of the course. We knew this was going to happen. Back to the elite women's race. One of the giant racing girls on the front there. Still not a lot of attacks, not a lot of intensity from the girls just yet. I think also the Mount Coot-tha section is something on the road that they are going to be tactical about. The climbers and the stronger girls up that climb will be a very tactical part of the race today. Will Ruth Corset still be dominant? She's a great climber and she was aggressive with Justine Barrow down in the Adelaide Hills, launching some attacks. Also, remember those team standings. We are thinking about the team standings for the NRS women's category. And the Oceania Championship jersey too, another real race within the race today of the Tour de Brisbane for these elite girls, will be another big tactic and a big factor today that the girls will be thinking of. Climbing back towards back towards Brisbane. Looks to be Madison Taylor at the front. I can't quite see race numbers. Matilda Reynolds just making sure she can move herself forward as they go up over the summit and underneath that motorway bridge which passes over them. Knights of Suburbia girls being well represented and staying close to the front. Bridge Lane boys commanding the pace here at the front. This is our junior men, I think. Oh, this is the elite men. So they're all come back together. Team Bridge Lane, the second part of Mount Coot-tha. It undulates across the top. You can see the camera angle there just cresting and starting the descent. This is where the cameraman will really need to get a move on and move out of the way. The speeds down the backside of Coot-tha are amazingly fast. And he will need to start to distance himself quite away from this main peloton. It seems to have reduced in numbers a little bit. We saw some damage on the Brisbane side, or the front side of Coot-tha, it's affectionately known as here locally. Some damage being done on the first climb, so that's not ideal. Now the commissaires start to follow through. Some broken pitches up here around Coot-tha, undulating. And here comes the ARA breakaway. This could be even Cam Scott or Zach Gilmore. Really started to get his advantage across, and the undulating section. An early attack from ARA Pro Racing to make his way and get onto this descent first. You want to pick the lines and you want to have a good clear view of the corner in front. Certainly does look like Zach Gilmore in behaving in his usual manners. Bunch thickening up behind them. Notice at the top of the climb there where we saw our return shot to the group bridge lane, well represented with 3 or 4 riders at the front of the main peloton. KOM points could be up for grabs. I'm not sure. We haven't been briefed yet where the KOM line is on the top of Mount Coot-tha. You can see the sunshine there beaming through the trees, and they are very pleased that the weather has cleared from yesterday, as they would have been circulating for the time trial. Some riders are backing up from the time trial today, with some were very tactically electing to rest the legs. We're about to start this descent. Back of the main group. We're already seeing some damage and some shrapnel pieces fall off the back of the elite peloton. They will need to be sensible but also safe in their descent if they are to try and regain Alistair Christie-Johnson also here to have, he's backing up from yesterday. Back to our elite women's race. Here we go. We are a little bit more up to pace now, so this is better from the girls, maybe enjoying some of the downhill run back towards Brisbane across the Western Freeway section. Commissaire coming right up alongside the bunch there to watch the behaviour, or maybe to get some information to some of the girls. Moving along at a very, very decent pace now. This is more like our elite women's field that we would be expected. Also including the under-23 women today. Anya Lowe was positive and having a great result yesterday in our under-23 time trial. Alicia Wells also racing well on Friday night. Alicia Wells in the criteriums. So she's also had a big weekend. She comes here with great form for this Oceania Championship today. More of the Mount Coot-tha climb. I think that's our junior men's field. Have they try and make up the deficit that this early 2-person breakaway? Back to our women. Matilda Reynolds there, just happy to stand up and rock the bike and ease herself up this little incline back towards the Brisbane and the Mount Coot-tha exit, which we just saw the elites men onto. So we understand the gap back, or they were held for a few moments before they set off. The girls acted and stayed well behind that neutral car. One of the Sydney Uni Steminate girls coming up there to Matilda Reynolds for now. Here is the descent. This is the backside of Mount Coot-tha. They get to use all the road, which is a great advantage for them. Local Brisbane training rides and training groups, they don't get that privilege. But a very, very fast and a very technical descent. A little bit of moisture on the ground still, which is nerving for some riders. They are staying away from those white lines that are painted on the road. They can be tricky and they can hold some moisture and road grime. Live Giant Racing boys at the back of the group there, trying to make their way through. As they exit out and come back into the suburbs, they've got an opportunity to pedal very fast and get back on. But also the Western Freeway, some undulations as they leave the city area again and head back towards the western side of Brisbane. Women are still making their way back in, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying a steady pace at the moment. Saw it might have been Josie Talbot coming up to have a friendly chat to Matilda Reynolds earlier on. Ruth Corset a little bit further back. Will she be waiting for the first Mount Coot-tha climb? Still the Live Giant girls doing the pace setting at the front. Bunch just happy to stay mainly together and keep
keep quite all Grupo Compacto. Ruth Corser moving forward ever so slightly. Watching the front of the pace setting. We can't see Emily Herfoss just yet. We're not seeing also some of the ARA Pro Racing girls at the front, so they'll be positioning themselves back in the main group. Under 23 girls as well. Very competitive in this main peloton. Also, local girl Hayley Jones, she will certainly know the Mount Coot-tha climb very well today. She'll be enjoying the privilege of being a local here around Brisbane. We are going to have a few words from some of our sponsors here, part of the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane. Back to our women's race here. They are coming closer to the Mount Coot-tha climb for the very first time. An interesting stage of the race. Will they familiarise themselves with the climb? We saw the elite men's peloton just in front of them sort of stayed more together. We didn't see big aggressive attacks like we would be normally expecting on a big KOM climb such as Mount Coot-tha, but certainly the girls seem to be enjoying the sunshine and the pace at a reasonable and sensible level just at the early stages. ARA Pro Racing starting to move up on the right-hand side of the group, the left as we look at it. Matilda Reynolds being swamped and pushed back a little bit further. She's there next to Josie Talbot. Talbot in the red helmet. Corset wants to stay looming near the front of this race, so this is dangerous, and people know of Ruth's climbing ability. Very well respected in the elite women's ranks, and great to have her back racing. She's enjoying racing with her younger daughter as well in the same team, so that was a real credit to them as a family, but also passing on some of her experience to young Caitlin Corset, riding with her down in Adelaide earlier this year. ARA Pro Racing, they're on both sides of the peloton. The girls want to be really involved. They're coming downhill past the old Brisbane quarry, and they'll loop around towards the left as we saw the men doing to start their first Mount Coot-tha instalment of the Oceania Championship course for 2022. Pace all together. Lovely big shadow there cast by our cameraman and the crew covering this race. Little bits of wet road, a little bit evident from last night, but not too bad. Still this Liv giant racing rider doing most of the pace setting on the front and doing a great job too. Corset happy to sit behind her down away from the Legacy Way tunnel, which will bring them towards the start of the climb, that little left-hand exit chute. Some pace now really rolling down. Back with our elite men, some spectators and feed zone people there on the side of the Western Freeway. A little bit of a rubber band effect at the front, people trying to slingshot themselves away from the main group as they climb up away from that Milton roundabout section and start heading westward again. Now they know the course, now they know where the undulations are and how the climbs will be affecting them. That looks to be Kane Richards, moving across to the left hand, putting himself back into the shadows a little. Taller lad from the ARA Pro Racing team. He's been in pretty good form of late. Coming across and joining ARA Pro Racing for the 2022 season. A little bit of road debris there that the riders are keeping away from. Really starting to wind up down these downhill sections, heading back out towards the Moggle Road Oval Pass and down towards the western end. We saw them cross that Indooroopilly Bridge area, or Jindalee Bridge, before the turnaround. That's a really nice big downhill section. Correction, it's not Kane Richards actually. Oliver's Real Food Racing here in this little move from 5 riders, Informed TMX as well. Peloton being dragged back up though in very single file and spread out, so the intensity and pace moving over. Some riders there looking over their shoulders to see who's reacting and what's happening here with this little attempt. 4 or 5 riders, it's now been sort of nullified and shut down, so they move back over, have a big look back over their shoulder and see, well, that didn't work that time, we'll try again very, very soon. This is our elite women, and Ruth Corset, as expected, is wanting to stay near the front for this first Mount Coot-tha climb. She wants to just familiarise herself with Mount Coot-tha again. She's probably been up here in previous training rides. Reynolds also there. She's been rocking up and out of the saddle on some of the earlier climbs today, so a familiar figure, always staying near the front. Matilda, back-to-back Melbourne to Warrnambool race winner, so she is super, super aggressive and knows about big days in the saddle. And this Oceania Road Championship course, although being mainly in the morning, they started quite early. It's a big racing day. Mount Coot-tha repeated times. Western Freeway is an undulating section of road as well. And already, like we saw in the men's elite field coming up here, some early damage being done on this first climb and people being shelled on the first lap through of Mount Coot-tha. Corset happy to stay seated and in second wheel position as they start to make their way up from the Milton roundabout area up towards the lookout. They head then left again to go up across the top there, and we saw the elite men enjoying those little undulations and rollers across the top of the climb before that tricky and speedy descent. Good thing is though, they get to use all the road today and a very safe climb. Seeing the intensity, it could be one of the under 23 girls really pushing along, and it is starting to separate this elite women's peloton. This is doing some damage here early on. There they go, Corset, Reynolds. Just trying to see there. There's Anya Lowe, I think. Mia Hayden a little bit further back. At the moment, it seems Corset is the only one maintaining the pace that's being set up the front by this young girl. A much taller figure than Ruth Corset. Some spectators there on the side trying to make pace with the elite women, but this little 2-person breakaway now is starting to really separate themselves, the girls, from Reynolds and Chasers. Could be some e-bike spectators there, the father and daughter or mother and daughter watching the NRS elite women's action as they do climb Mount Coot-tha for the very first time. Two riders here starting to separate themselves. Geez, they are maintaining a very decent pace on this first climb. You can see the gap they are starting to put on that pointy end of the elite women's peloton already. So this two-person breakaway is starting to be quite impotent against the other riders. Up and out of the saddle on some of the undulations. Ruth Corset still just tapping away nicely. Happy to let the other rider do the pace setting. Try and get that young girl's number or team jersey in a little bit clearer shot very soon. The chase group as well is about 5 or 6 girls. Matilda Reynolds is involved in that. Then further back down this next section of the climb, another group separated. So they're all trying to just survive after this two-person attack off the front. Here we go. We might be able to see this uniform here of the other girl doing a lot of damage early on. Can see the gap there. They are still within a catchable distance on the descent, given the experience of some of the other girls here in our elite women's peloton. They will descend well, and they should be able to catch back up to this two-person breakaway, but it's certainly starting to do damage at the back of the elite women's field. Here we are seeing some of the other riders and girls struggle there with the pace that's being set at the front. Some little patchy coverage areas here, folks, across the top, but they will be we able to get a handle on how this first climb is going to tactically affect the rest of the Oceania Championship race for the elite women. Some spectators getting up there to Mount Coot-tha to watch the girls come through. Sunshine punching through the trees and showing itself, which will be a relief for the girls today. I had an early start down in Brisbane. The Tour de Brisbane event precinct was very busy. Their convoy cars getting lined up right alongside the RNA showgrounds, and spares vehicles and commissaires wanting to leave on time and get them away for an enjoyable start to Sunday's racing. Back out on the Western Freeway with the back of this group. You can see they are climbing towards that bridge overpass there. So they are well back out onto the Western Freeway, heading towards the Jindalee end of town. Another little attempt here. They're all checking over their shoulders to see who's going to come with them and who's involved. This is a good descent down towards the Jindalee Bridge. Trying to make out some uniforms here. You're seeing Giant Racing being involved across the bridge. This attack still involved again at the front is this young rider who started to launch the attack back towards Mount Coot-tha. So he's been involved in a few things today. He wants a breakaway to stick, and he wants something to work here. So he's really at the front again, pushing the pace along. And heading westwards out to the U-turn section, they go up and around that bridge network to point them back towards Brisbane for the eastbound route. Looks to be gaining a little bit of urgency. Plenty of shoulders looking and checking. Here come a couple of the Nero boys. That's one of the tandem riders at the front. Wants to be involved. They are based in Brisbane, so they'll be enjoying this no-car motorway experience for themselves today. Come a couple of the Nero boys. That is Ben Carmen in second wheel. Carmen coming to the front now to do some of the pace setting. Great to see Benny Carmen back in this NRS level of competition and competing now for the Oceania Championship title of 2022. Back to our two-girl women's breakaway here on the Mount Coot-tha climb. Still, we haven't seen that chase group come around the back corner there, so you can see this young girl doing plenty of pace setting and plenty of work on the front. Ruth Corset hasn't really touched the front, but I think Ruth is just struggling to keep with the pace and the enthusiasm that this young girl is demonstrating here on this climb. And this is the very first time through. Their gap is really increasing. We still have not seen that little group. They are just coming around the corner now. You can see them there back in the trees and the sunlight. So that's a good gap. And they'll start to go over this little undulating climb and summit across the Mount Coot-tha. So now they start to get out of sight. Ruth Corset will enjoy the descent. She now starts to come forward a little bit and take some of the pace setting duties. Young girl there just looking across at Ruth to see how she's looking or how comfortable does she really feel. And they can see they are getting an advantage already on this first lap through. If it will be maintained back out onto the Western Freeway, we are interested to see. Certainly having the whole roadway to themselves for the descent is an advantage. You can see Ruth Corset there taking some inside lines and some different aspects of the course. Very important though, or a crucial part, is to stay away from those white lines. And you can see some dry sections of the road. Hasn't been much traffic up there at all today so far, but some overnight moisture and dew on the roads. But the girls are really choosing nice race lines here, and they want to maintain this advantage that they've taken early on this first climb of Mount Coot-tha. Back in the main group, those little splintered groups will have to reorganize themselves. A well-respected rider in the elite main peloton, somebody like Reynolds, will have to organise the chase if these two girls are to be caught once they return back to the Western Freeway of the Tour de Brisbane course for them. They are really starting to separate themselves as they continue to climb across the top of Mount Coot-tha in Brisbane. Ruth Corset doing a lot of climbing seated. Wonder, does she practice much on Mount Stewart up in Townsville, or the very famous Castle Hill in the middle of Townsville? It's a good training route in the morning. This is where the descent starts, and Witch's Hat's there keeping away from that puddled water on that corner. And they start the descent. Enjoyable part of the road for them. Also to use all the road on the descent is a great advantage. They are coming up to the KOM point there on Mount Coot-tha. Corset looks to be not too intent on taking points just yet, although I think that may be one of her goals for today, is to take Queen of the Mountain points. Will Corset compete for these Queen of the Mountain points? It's one of her favoured disciplines. That could be the transponder and receiver there that I just saw on the side of the road. So Corset did not attack, and she's being respectful to the most of the work and most of the climbing and pace setting that this young rider is doing on the front. So I think they're going to just work together. This is the second group of the elite women. This is where they need to be organised. Knights of Suburbia there being represented. They are going past the Queen of the Mountain section there as well. Commissaire has put himself in behind that group. He's watching the intent of the race and thinking that the back markers will now have to chase after this two-person initial attack on the first climb. This is their first lap through for the elite women's race. Corset now coming forward for her race team to take on some of the pace setting. This is back to our elite men's race. Kane Richards is involved there. There is Cyrus Monk. So Cyrus Monk was one of the riders who was starting the attack on the first Mount Coot-tha climb. Yes, he was caught, but Cyrus Monk in good form and he plenty of intent. Racing for the Mio team this year. Adam Baker very pleased to get that signing of Cyrus Monk into his team for 2022. One of the local tandem racing boys, Matthew Lambert, in this little move as well. Little tuck here at the front. Very weavy, snaky formation coming down through the Western Freeway there. Roadway drying out nicely. The sun will start to be their friend today. Won't be too hot this time of year. We're into early April. Somebody else coming across to the left-hand side of the road. Their heads are on a swivel today. Every time they start to come to the front and move around, they do start to look back to see who's reacting and who's following this attack and this intensity that I'm putting down. So it's being a shared workload at the moment. Some different riders coming forward. Bridge Lane has been a little quiet so far today. Giant Racing boys have been near the front just a little. Cyrus Monk also. And the local tandem Coffee Co racing fraternity based in Brisbane. They're also enjoying this opportunity to race against some of the stronger southern NRS teams, but also be a part of this Oceania Road Championships experience and day, especially around this Western Freeway and Mount Coot-tha closed road circuit course that the organisers have put together. So a fantastic opportunity for them, but a safe opportunity as well to use infrastructure like this that they don't normally get to ride on. They normally use Brisbane River Loop and cycle paths for training around Brisbane, but today getting the opportunity to ride through infrastructure like this and use those tunnels as they will start to make their way back towards R&A Showgrounds here in Brisbane City. Saw one of the other groups, the smaller groups, go back towards on the other side of the bridge there, so they'll be able to see some of the other grades as they circulate along the Western Freeway, like the junior men or the elite women. So a great opportunity there to watch and see. Not that they'll be focusing too much on the other races on the other side of the road, but a great spectacle there for the convoys to see what is happening in the opposing races here today. Back to our elite women. These are the two leaders, I think, which are still enjoying quite a handsome breakaway from those chase groups. So the commissaire has moved themselves up behind that chase group, so they understanding that this breakaway is really having some great intensity. This is in through the suburbs as they start to make their way off the Mount Coot-tha descent and through into the suburbs and get themselves back towards the Western Freeway for their second lap. They've already been out along there once. Time for a gel, time for some energy after they know they've done enough work now to separate themselves from that main group. Tricky little section here. around some traffic islands and some road furniture, they call it. Down through the backs sections of Milton suburbs, I think, or Barden suburbs here in Brisbane. Great road section there. Back to our elite men. A little breakaway, or a separation, or not really a breakaway, but a rolling group again, checking back to see who's chasing. And that is, I think, the New Zealander there, Thomas Sexton, at the back of that group. A couple of informed TMX boys are in there. Giant Racing 93, that could be Liam Walsh from Brisbane. It is indeed. Liam has been competing very, very well and has been super competitive in amongst the NRS peloton. Christy Johnson is also in this breakaway. So some real firepower here. There's Elliot Schultz as well from Inform. Walsh then sitting at the back of the group. Not taking his turn just too much yet. Looked also to be the other Inform rider, could have been Mark O'Brien. We'll see if we can get a view of that number coming up into this little breakaway move at the front of the elite men's peloton. This is the back of their main group. Just trying to hold on to the pace at the moment and see what happens at the front of the main group. A big armchair ride at the back of the elite peloton, but it is getting strung out and it is getting very, very long in its length. So the intensity and the pace on these downhill sections is really, really on this morning. Beautiful weather conditions. Back to our women's elite leaders. This two-person breakaway has really done some damage on the Mount Coot-tha climb the first time through. They're coming down through past the Toowong Cemetery. A couple of little bad joins on this bridge, but the girls will get around there nicely. This will exit them back out onto the Western Freeway. This is coming over that Milton roundabout and back around past the cemetery, and they will start the climb and then start heading westward. We still don't see that chase group yet either, so they are well clear and enjoying a pretty good advantage at the moment. Commissaire car slotting in behind there now to watch the behaviour of this two-person breakaway. They know there is enough space now to safely do that. Great to see some spectators coming out too and watching these Oceania Championship races. 4 races in total on course at the moment. Elite men, elite women, and then junior men and junior women. And plenty of local cycling enthusiasts and commuters enjoying the day off and watching this infrastructure be closed down for these races. Now Ruth Corset does a little bit of the pace setting on the front. Still seated climbing style by Ruth. Enjoying, they know they've done the damage. They've had their energy gels and they've had some drink of water. This is a feed zone area as they start to move back out onto the Western Freeway. We might be able to get a number of that young girl that is with Ruth. She's been doing most of the pace setting and climbing. Very tall young girl. Her bike's a decent size. They're having a little look across at each other. Not much talking. Just let's concentrate on the job at hand. It could be number 14, Georgie Howe. Or 34, Rebecca Manning. It's Kim Kadzow, 54. Kim Kadzow, New Zealand girl. So an Anzac attack up front. Australia and New Zealand girl. This could be our elite girls chase group from the commissaire car there of the elite women's race, or the smaller group of the junior women's peloton that were circulating and rolling over turns very, very nicely, like a well-drilled team earlier on. Back to Kim and Ruth here at the front of the elite women's race. Young New Zealand rider number 54, Kim Kadzau, and Ruth Corset. They are circulating and swapping turns nicely. The young Kiwi girl did most of the pace setting up Mount Coot-tha. And Ruth Corset happy to stay seated and let her do that pace setting to just see how this was going to unfold. And I tell you what, it has unfolded right into the hands of Ruth Corset to put herself away from these stronger teams and these big aggressive finishers like Reynolds, like Talbot, like the ARA girls, Martin Wallace, Di Francesco. Di Francesco would have also enjoyed to be away in a breakaway and minimise her opposition chances. That's exactly what Ruth Corset and Kim Kadzau have done here today. They have a two-person breakaway and it's got quite an advantage. Commissaires have brought back the Com1 car and put them behind the two-person breakaway. And Ruth Corset just happy to stay focused. Some locals there trying to make pace along the bikeway with the elite women. An interesting concept. And they will separate themselves a little bit as the bike path cannot follow and enjoy the Western Freeway route. Kim Kadzau there from New Zealand just asking, is this still the right way? Ruth Corset saying we just keep following this. She would indicate it there with her hand. Let's keep going. Keep back on this Western Freeway, head westbound again. Through under these bridges. Spectators there enjoying the advantage point from up on the bridge.
Get you underway very, very soon.
Back in Brisbane, in the King Street precinct, we are seeing lots of Grand Fondo riders and colourful characters enjoying the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane this year. Down into King Street, they are getting ready for Story Bridge, busway, tunnels, also, no, not Legacy Way, but they use I think one of the other northern busways as well through Brisbane. And part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival is the RNA Showgrounds being decorated today, and another hub of activity for the riders when they do return to come down and see lots of exhibitors, lots of demonstrations, shows. We had cyclocross racing here yesterday. The cyclocross was enjoying some testy weather conditions and had some rain on and off, but a great spectacle and part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival. Back with our leaders now in the elite women's race. Ruth Corset enjoying the opportunity to look over her shoulder and not let the young New Zealand girl privy of that, but she is enjoying a lead here with Kim Kadzau in the elite women's breakaway. And Kadzau did all the damage on the Mount Coot-tha climb. She was the New Zealand girl that really set the pace up there. Ruth Corset happy to stay seated behind her and just climb to her pace and not trying to attack or distance themselves too much. Kadzau just did all the work, and the other girls in the elite women's race, which does include some of the under 23 girls, they couldn't react to that. So Kadzau is an under 23 New Zealand rider across to compete here with us today, and Ruth Corset will understand that. So they're both up for separate prizes in the under 23 women's race and the elite women's race, and here we are seeing one of each of these young girls. Ruth Corset, a little more experienced in the NRS road racing scene than Kim Kadzau would be, but they are both leading their own races here in the elite women's and the under 23 women's race. So this has been a tactic that has fallen into the lap of Ruth Corset, and she will be enjoying the opportunity to move away with Kim Kadzau and hopefully enjoy a breakaway attempt. Let's hope that Matilda Reynolds, Talbot and the ARA girls, though behind, can get organised and make a race of this, because there are plenty of under 23 girls like Anya Lowe, like Savannah Copeland, also another New Zealand competitor, Anna-Marie Lip. Very, very competitive in the under 23 field. And we're going to take a short break now and hear from some of our sponsors and advertisements.
So the common goal.
Elite men are back onto, it looks like, their second lap of the Mount Coot-tha climb. This will be an interesting one to watch. Earlier little attacks, and we're seeing some 5 and 6 person attempted groups. Still waiting to see. There's Mark O'Brien. They are starting to separate themselves. Some have jumped across. It's certainly a lot more than 5 or 6 this time. Liam Walsh was involved, Mark O'Brien, Cyrus Monk. They've been joined by about another 10 riders. This is the back of the group. This is where you don't want to be on this Mount Coot-tha Brisbane feature and climb. No KOM competition today in the Oceania Championships road races. I just had that brought to me in the ad breaks. So no KOM jerseys or KOM points awarded today on Mount Coot-tha, but certainly we do have lots of competition struggling at the back here to try and maintain the pace setting that they are exhibiting on the front. Mark O'Brien, who will want to be involved in whatever is happening, especially on a tactical part of the course like this Mount Coot-tha section. Can't quite see, it might be a tandem rider on the front. Giant Racing, Oliver's Real Food Racing as well being involved. Also seeing the Nero Pro jersey. Sunlight there just interfering with the images a little as it comes blasting through the trees. This is the back of the group. These riders are really starting to struggle and challenge themselves. Commissaire Carr is thinking about coming around these boys, and they do. trying to come forward and watch what is happening up the road here. Plenty of damage being done. Second time around Mount Coot-tha for the elite men, and I guess with Marco coming forward and some likely suspects being involved in that breakaway, which I guess sort of Cyrus Monk started, the reaction coming. Liam Walsh, a young Brisbane local, wanting to be involved in that group as well, and knowing who to follow and who to watch is the key in races like this. And boy, oh boy, we are really starting to see the screws get turned up this second time through over Mount Coot-tha by the suspects and the stronger climbing type riders that are within this group. Weather conditions has been favourable, and it's been talked about in leading up days about the weather for this weekend for the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane. Yesterday the time trial was lucky to get away with dry roads out at Rosewood, and some very fast times there. The Kiwi rider Aaron Gate had an amazing time trial. Speeds of up around 54 kilometres an hour as his average speed over that time trial course yesterday. Not sure how the legs will be feeling for Aaron Gaze, the New Zealander, today. Try and keep an eye out for him a little later on as we get images and shots of their numbers. But they are certainly looking around and watching who is involved here. Where are the stronger riders and the dominant teams? But on the second lap of Mount Coot-tha, more and more damage is being done. We saw those images there where the commissaire car is electing to come around those back markers and drop in behind these main groups. The descent drying out now. A little bit thickening up. They can look over their shoulders and see the comms car is behind them. And the peloton is about halved from what we saw on the Western Freeway earlier on. Thickening up across the road. Mark O'Brien there in the middle. Very tall and very recognisable figure. Haven't spotted Brenton Jones just yet. That looks to be Schultz on the front. Elliot Schultz is in good form. Not sure whether another young Brisbane local, Blake Quick, is riding here with the Inform team today. Try and see if Quickie is amongst them as we progress through the course. They will really enjoy this descent on Brisbane, Mount Coot-tha, all the road. No traffic, and plenty of safe cornering for them as well, as the road continues to dry out and continues to get more and more familiar for the riders as well as they circulate lap after lap. This is their second time through Mount Coot-tha. Down across the top, weaving their way around the corners. Gee, they are really going across the top there at good pace. The descent also will be a very, very fast one and very technical for the riders. We saw Ruth Corset and Kim Kadzow. We didn't see their actual descent, but they were starting to make it look very easy. And obviously a smaller group and two-person, a lot easier to contend with when there's only two riders on course rather than watching inside shoulders and outside shoulders if there's a bigger group like this that the elite men are in. Liam Walsh will be pleased with himself and impressed that he's up here amongst the likes of Mark O'Brien, Cyrus Monk, starting to enjoy his NRS experiences with the Giant Racing team. Young Balmoral Jr. from Brisbane, he was racing very well at the Noosa Criterium last year. Now the comms car is moving over here, so we might be seeing a chase group reattach themselves to this front breakaway. Now it's a front breakaway group which has really thickened up in numbers. Here they are chasing back on, attempting to chase back on across the top. And another big group there. So the peloton's sort of in two halves at the moment here in the elite men's race. That front group has really intensified in numbers. They have a little bit of a rest down through the undulations and the top of Mount Coot-tha, but the commissaire car has dropped back in behind the chase group as well. So both groups having about the same amount of numbers. We'll wait and see how the descent does affect the peloton, whether that group's come back together as they head out onto the Western Freeway again. Ruth Corset and Kim Kadzau, though, they are enjoying a big breakaway in the elite women's race. Try and get some images as well soon for the junior races, the junior women's and junior men's. Junior men's were also having a two-person breakaway as well, which we'll try and get back to, folks, for you pretty soon. Across we go. Some teammates there are staying close together. There is, I think, Aaron Gate, the Kiwi rider that won the Oceania Time Trial Championships yesterday. He is wearing number 1. There they go, down past some of the television station centres across the descent. That's the start of the main descent there of Mount Coot-tha. It is all downhill from there. Back of the main peloton, that's the second group. The commissaire has let them come past his car. They are starting to rejoin on, or trying to attempt to rejoin on to that front group. But there seemed to be a bit of a gap on that. Notice as they move from the right-hand side of the road through to the apex of the corner in the left hand. Waiting to see if they can emerge into the suburbs there, the back of Barton and around past the Toowong Cemetery, and get a handle on how far up the road that front group is. This is back with our elite women's race. This is the chase group out after Ruth Corset and Kim Kadzau. Inform TMX just looking over their shoulder to see what's happening and who's chasing with them. Enjoying some beautiful sunshine on their shoulders this morning. Out again onto the Western Freeway. Moving over and just rolling, rotating turns on the front of this group. A little bit of a descent section here on the Western Freeway. Great to have this infrastructure safely closed for the riders today. Really enjoying these opportunities. Looks to be like Mia Hayden in the second wheel there, just slotting in behind this Inform TMX. Some moves and reactions coming from the girls behind as well, so they really know this downhill section is a part of the course where they're going to be enjoying speed and enjoying a nice rolling part of the course, but it is very strung out, and the numbers of the group too have drastically reduced. So the commissaire and convoy cars have started to move themselves in front of the back markers that have struggled with the pace and the intensity that that climb has done. And they wanted to really come forward and follow their riders, and the team cars need to support their riders who are staying up in this front group. That looks to be Cadzow there and Corset. So those two lead riders, they have been caught. So the chase group that included, I think, Matilda Reynolds, that does look to be Mia Hayden as well. They have re-caught and rejoined Cadzow and Corset. Emily Watts in the NRS jersey there, leaders jersey, back in this group. So they have caught Ruth Corset. So this is now the group at the front of the bike race for the elite women's competition today. And we will soon start to see who else is involved. It's great to see some under 23 girls being competitive and being involved in this. Watts moving forward. Mia Hayden coming forward now as well. Great to see some New Zealand girls coming across and being competitive here in the under 23s, but also in the elite women's age groups. Gee, they have really reduced the size of this elite women's peloton. That's only their first time through. And they now head westward again along the Brisbane's Greater Western Freeway. There's another one of our junior rider pelotons heading back towards Brisbane in an eastbound direction as the girls head west. Great spectacle for them to watch and see across the road. Other groups heading across. Plenty of spectators coming out too. Brisbane commuters using these cycleways along the Western Freeway. We saw earlier when Ruth Corset and Kim Cadzow were riding along the road, some commuters and local racers trying to race with the pace of the girls, using the bike paths alongside the Western Freeway motorway as the girls were heading along. Great opportunity for Brisbane spectators to watch some of this racing action. They'll also see some of the Grand Fondo action as well across the Story Bridge and in through the inner city bypass infrastructure, and they head south in the busways. This is the tail end of the men's descent, heading back in through the back suburbs of Barden. They have a little bit of work to do to try and catch the front markers. It is very strung out here as this group of riders, they realise the work they've got to do, and they realise if they've got to get back out to the Western Freeway, they need to do it quickly and they need to try and catch back up to that field. Back with our elites women's race. After they've been caught, those two girls that have broken away on the climb, they've really settled back into a steady pace again. Knights of Suburbia girls looking around to just see who else is involved. They know that the first lap over Mount Coot-tha has done major damage to the numbers in this group, but also enjoying some under 23s racing very well in with the elite women also. So there will be separate Oceania champion jerseys for each of those age groups, but they are super competitive. Kim Cadzow, the New Zealand girl, showing her climbing prowess in the earlier laps. And Ruth Corset, the very experienced climber in the elite women's races and very well known in the main elite women's peloton, also just making pace with young Kim Cadzow. So I think they are heading west again. Few girls there trying to just communicate and talk amongst themselves to try and find out how they're feeling or what the competition is like. Okay, back with our elite men's race. There is Mark O'Brien there at the back of the group, number 16. He is involved in this and he will be pleased that he is up in this section. Plenty of numbers, still lots of guys looking around and watching who is involved and what's happening. Great that this young Tandem Coffee Co. complement from Brisbane is getting to race in here amongst the likes of Mark O'Brien and some of the Kiwis. Also the ARA Pro Racing boys, as I mentioned, they would be very much enthusiastic and keen to get a result here today. They have lots of firepower. A little bit of a feed zone section that the boys are going through at the moment, but I don't think Mark O'Brien likes the intent of seeing that group up the road just easily roll away. So now that they've got their food on board, Mark O'Brien is the one that starts to react and say, well, we're not just going to let them ride away that easy. Let's get out after them. And away they go, trying to get this back together, because up the road here we are seeing as they head out again onto the Western Freeway, a little bit of a separation. Once you get over these climbs, you go back down towards Moggle Road. Downhill section can be very, very fast. There's Liam Walsh. There's one of the Oliver's Real Food Racing boys as well, pushing along and trying to stay forward. That's Jordan Smith. Little 5-person breakaway then for. This is what Mark O'Brien was scared of. He thinks if this gets together and gets a little bit better organised and they start to use a downhill advantage, this is where they can start to separate themselves. Looks to be number 7, Kane Richards. Yes, it is. Cyrus Monk, I tell you what, he's come back from the Tour of Thailand. He's got good form. Cyrus Monk is involved in something yet again. And first of all was one of the riders who started an early surge in speed as they approached Mount Coot-tha for the very first time. And this is Cyrus Monk again on the front for the Mio Pro Racing team, pushing along the pace. This is what Mark O'Brien was scared of back through that feed zone and back in the main peloton. If they started to get organised, and if Cyrus Monk starts to get some intensity here, this could be dangerous. I think there's about 9 or 10 riders here. Rolling over nicely now. Downhill out onto the Western Freeway. Separating themselves, the main peloton needs to get organised. If they see a more experienced and more respected man like Mark O'Brien trying to excite the chase, they should react and they should get going, because this does have some firepower in it. Liam Walsh is in there. Oliver's Real Food Racing have Jordan Smith in here, and Cyrus Monk. He is pushing this along and really intent to try and separate himself from lots of some of these stronger teams. Although coming back off the Tour of Thailand, I've heard some talk through Brisbane that the boys really enjoyed that experience. And DS, Adam Baker, also very pleased with how the team are circulating and performing. Ryan Thomas joining that organisation this year as well. We haven't seen Ryan just yet. Here is the back of the main bunch. These are the chasers. They really need to start to understand the firepower and the impotence at the front of this main peloton. They had a bit of work to do off the descent of Mount Coot-tha. Really need to, on the descents there, you can see they're freewheeling quite nicely, but up the front, they are winding on the intensity. Cyrus Monk, there's the elbow indicator to Cyrus Monk to come through, and he does just now. Shadowy little section there. Out of the, they have a fair gap over that chase group. The main peloton was sort of broken in half, and this front half has now splintered again. It's about 10 or 12 riders. Cyrus Monk involved, Liam Walsh involved, Jordan Smith was another. There's one of the overpass bridges there. So this is on the first of the climbs. They start to descend and go down towards the Brisbane River. They cross over towards the Jindalee Bridge. This is a fast, big section downhill. The boys are looking around. I've said there's been lots of shoulder checks. Their heads on a swivel. Kane Richards is in here for the ARA Pro Racing. He'll be pleased that this little move is starting to get some distance. Oceania Championships of 2022. It's a big title to race for. It's an exciting race. Repeated laps of Coot-tha. Testing Kane Richards. Not really known for his climbing prowess, but he's certainly making sure that any moves and any aggressive moves on this Western Freeway parts of the course, he wants to be involved with. They are circulating and rolling over nicely, so I think they all want it to be a breakaway which can work and a breakaway which can stick. Gee, I was amazed in the elite women's race too that Corset and Coot-tha were caught up so quickly by that chase group. Here we are now back with our elite women's race. Pace setting being done by one of the blue riders there. Could be another Kiwi girl. We're mentioning too, some under 23 riders are really in here and enjoying the opportunity to race with the elites, but they do have a separate Oceania Championship involved for their 2022 edition this year. Corset happy to stay near the front, but not on the front. That's her in third wheel. Looks to be Josie Talbot just behind her in the Sydney Uni Steminade race colours. ARA Pro Racing 2, their familiar bicycle colour there, easily identifiable in the peloton. Another great team edition for 2022 for those girls. Different brand, but using same colouring. A little bit of downhill pace here being exercised by the elite women's group. You can see them rolling it on nicely. But the damage that Coot-tha and Corset did on that first climb of Mount Coot-tha has really about halved the peloton in here as well. So the commissaire and convoy cars have come past those back markers and they have now rejoined this main peloton of the elite women's race. This is the front of their race and the main group that they will focus on across the morning. Gee, they are really into a beautiful Sunday morning for racing, the girls. Clear skies, nice opportunity for them to race safely along the Western Motorway, and they are really enjoying this. Little separation there, keeping them on course. They do the repeated laps. We saw the overview of the course. They do repeated laps, but then on the third and final climb, they come back in and then weave their way through the Brisbane city and bring them around to the R&A Showgrounds for a Gregory Terrace. Big sprint finish. Last year, though, we were seeing some breakaways. Here is the breakaway with our elite men, and they are rolling along nicely now and getting a bit better organised. So whatever Cyrus Monk has started here, the rest of it want to go on with it. And we are seeing, like we saw in the junior women's race, everyone wants to contribute to the pace setting and everyone wants to be organised enough so that the breakaway may try to stick. And this has got plenty of firepower and plenty of enthusiasm and intensity in it as well. Cyrus Monk coming to the front there. One of the other TMX informed riders might be young Schultz. There's Kane Richards, that's the ARA rider. He is moving across to his left, Liam Walsh behind him. There's the elbow from Walsh. Just trying to identify if Mark O'Brien was back in the main group. This may well be Elliot Schultz, who was riding well Friday night in a little three-person breakaway in the King Street Kick It Crits. Oliver's Real Food Racing rider, that's Jordan Smith. He does his turn. Just rocking on the pedals up and out of the saddle. The little climb here for them. Gee, they're not slowing down much at all. The boys aren't talking much. They're letting the elbows and the body language do the talking. Maybe a little bit of last wheel call just at the back there for Schultze to drop back in. Cyrus Monk with the Cam Smith lookalike mullet. Very familiar there with his blue helmet at the front. Richards. So the boys, yeah, they are certainly doing great pace setting. We can't see the chase group at the back yet in view. So now that they're rolling over like this, like a well-drilled team formation, even though they're all individual riders here, they are really starting to maintain this gap that they have on the main field. Great to see everyone contributing like this. This is where you know that it's an intense attack, and you know that's one that's got plenty of intent with it. Across through the Mount Omni section here before they make their way towards the exit, which makes their U-turn formation for them. Another little undulation that they can enjoy on the downhill sense off that Mount Omni peak. Gee, I know that well, and they did not slow down up and over there at all. Really, really quick through there. Richards at the front. Okay, so the elite women climb yet again, and look who is near the front yet again. Nice sunny backdrop there of Brisbane City behind them. Ruth Corset still seated and still happy to stay. It might even be Kim Cadzel yet again, the young New Zealand girl from the under-23 age group. Again, setting the pace, setting up Mount Coot-tha. Somebody is really out of the saddle and climbing very, very strongly from this elite women's race. Super effort there at the front. Can see Corset making pace again, and here comes the old rubber band stretching cliche. We are seeing the group reducing again. Is it going to be a repeat scenario from the first climb through on Mount Coot-tha? Certainly they know now with the intent of the young New Zealand girl, Kim Cadzel, and Ruth Corset, they do need to react to this. And if it is Cadzel again, she really needs to be applauded for her efforts. It looks to be as though it certainly is Kim Cadzel, the under-23 girl from New Zealand. We're almost getting a carbon copy of the first installment of the Mount Coot-tha climb for these girls. It is repeating itself. We're getting a bit of deja vu here, again with Cadzel and Corset on the front again, and the rest just wanting to hold on to their wheel as best they can. Look at the gap they're starting to put on the girls. That main group came back together and was well up over 20 riders, and already we're seeing it dwindle again in numbers to be just about 12 or 15 girls at the front. Try and see if it is Cadzel. I think it is. I think it is Cadzel. Wow, this young New Zealand girl, where does she do her secret hill climbing training? Because she is strong, and she is doing again more damage yet again on lap number 2 of Mount Coot-tha for the Tour de Brisbane of 2022. Almost seeing the spectators do the same thing too with the e-bikes and the pushing of their little one there to watch the girls go past, but they elected to pull over and spectate. So a carbon copy repeat from Kim Cadzel on the front of the Elite Women's Oceania Championship road race today. Corset knows how well she can climb, so she is happy to make pace with her. And this time through, though, we should try to see more girls stay with these two strong climbers. Will it be a carbon copy repeat of the first climb through? Gee, she is super strong, this young Cadsau rider from New Zealand. We called it the Anzac breakaway earlier on when it was just Corset and Cadsau, an Australian and a New Zealand rider, each representing their country here at the Oceania Championships. But this time they know of it, so they have some friends joining them this time from the elite ranks. And they won't be let it sneak away ever so easily this time. It's not really a chance or an opportunity of sneaking away. I just don't think any of the girls expected the intensity and the speed that Corset and Cadsau would demonstrate or display on that Mount Coot-tha climb for the first time through. I don't think they'll let them go as easily this time. And we're seeing a little group there forming of about 6 or 8 riders. Steminade Sydney Uni there has a girl represented. See also they're all shadowing Ruth Corset yet again. More climb, we can see the incline on the road there, and spectators enjoying the opportunity to watch the different grades come through. Junior men, they will certainly spring up this Mount Coot-tha climb, being lightweight junior riders, and they have great gearing restrictions imposed on them, but they are handy for climbing. Back with our elite men's breakaway. Rolling along nicely. We saw them sharing the workload. A little bit of a talk with Schultz and Monk there at the front. Another rider there is Ben Dybel. That is Dybel on the front right now. Schultz happy to slot back in behind Ben Dybel. Another well-known and well-respected rider here in the elite main peloton. ARA team car coming forward to feed Richards and help Kane. Make sure he's well hydrated. They are still working over nicely and rolling over turns, so as we mentioned, if the elite peloton doesn't react to this, it's got some firepower here, and it's got some usual suspects who would love to get an Oceania Championship jersey. Mark O'Brien was one of the more experienced riders in the main peloton that was trying to excite the bunch to get a wriggle on. They went through the feed zone, but then Marco certainly wanted to get things going again and get up to speed so they could try and catch this breakaway up the front, because he's really starting to get a big advantage. I think they've done the U-turn already. This looks to be climbing away from the Jindalee Bridge. Back with the leaders of the elite women's race. Climbing Mount Coot-tha, second time through. Cadsau and Corset. This time they are joined by a few more riders. Girls won't let them sneak away ever so easily like they did on the first time through. So it's not quite a carbon copy of lap 1 of Coot-tha, but it is certainly the two riders again at the front, Cadsau and Corset. Little group, it might be Josie Talbot who is following Corset there. These are some junior men climbing Coot-tha. Cadsau out of the saddle in the elite women's breakaway, showing another strong performance in climbing and in road cycling from the young New Zealand girl, Kim Cadsau. They are shadowed by some other riders this time. Corset climbing nicely in her usual seated position in a nice gearing that she's picked. to just watch this young rider, under 23 girl, do most of the pace setting up the front. Katzau seems to be doing all the pace setting. Everybody else happy to sit behind her. You can see the gap back again to the chasers, or the damage that has been done. They're only just coming around the corner there, so they're about 300 metres behind the leaders here of the elite women's race. And as they crest, they will start to get out of mind, so they don't know how they're behaving on the descent. Obviously, the smaller groups and less numbers into corners is safer for the riders. Road nice and dry up across the top. Little bit of a roll down across the top of Coot-tha. Some undulations there that the girls are enjoying. Nobody else wants to go past Katzau. They are happy to let the New Zealander do most of the work. Once they start the descent again down towards the back of Barden and Toowong, we'll start to see when they get across past that cemetery overpass and into the feed zone again, where the elite women's chase peloton is here behind this lead breakaway group. Gee, this descent is fast. Have a look at the moto here, staying in front of these girls across the undulations, a really good part of the course. A little bit shadowed for them at the moment with the sun breaking through. Still early in the day, only about 10 past 8 time of day. And they are separating themselves nicely from the rest of that main group. Of course, it moves back a little bit, has a bit more of a look around at who is in the group with them this time. ARA Pro Racing have one of the girls here up in this breakaway this time, so they'll be intent on this, being involved. Knights of Suburbia Racing also represented there, I think I can see. And Katzau gets off the front and the pace reduces slightly. Of course, it looks around to think now might be a good time to launch an attack on the start of the descent. Here goes Ruth Corset. Everybody else sort of reduced, and then once Kim Katzau wasn't on the front, they didn't know what to do. Ruth Corset knows what to do. She starts to pick up the pace again and make the intensity a little bit more race-like across the top of Mount Coot-tha. Good to see some numbers here as well. It is Josie Talbot, I think, was there from the Sydney Uni Steminade. Talbot does not want to let Ruth Corset and Katzau do a repeat or a deja vu on the Coot-tha climb this time. Here is the chase group from the elite women's race. It's only a small group. There's only about 3 or 4 of them. Mia Hayden is one. Matilda Reynolds is one. The other ARA Pro Racing girl, that may be Anya Lowe. I'll just try and see if it is. Yes, it is Anya Lowe. Another under 23 rider in this women's race today. So that's a good little 4-person breakaway. The commissaire cars were coming past them, but I think they should be able to get back on. A little bit of a looking around, and the girls are talking amongst themselves there at the back, or they look to be. Somebody else doing the pace setting now at the front, so this will give Katzau a little bit of a break, and of course it will readjust Back with the elite men's breakaway group. Schultz there having a little bit of a chat at the back. Liam Walsh flicks the elbow. They still want this rolling over momentum to continue. They are making their way back in an easterly bound direction now. Schultz is having a real little chit chat there at the back of the group. Kane Richards also making it a little bit obvious at the back that they want to just have a bit more of a break as they come down on this descent. Team cars falling in behind, watching the behaviour of their riders. Kane Richards having a little bit of personal admin time at the back of the group while the front just keeps pushing along. This is Ben Dybel on the front. Ben Dybel rolling over nicely, making their way back towards Mount Coot-tha for yet again. Now they're into single file formation. They're coming back towards Mount Coot-tha yet again, and we're not seeing the main peloton. So this break could be one that's more serious. Here is the elite men's main peloton, very, very strung out. We are seeing the signs there for the Legacy Way tunnel, so they're about 1 kilometre behind the breakaway. Breakaway are about to start climbing the Mount Coot-tha climb, and here's the main peloton coming towards the exit for Mount Coot-tha. Got a hand up there from one of the riders looking to get feed and assistance from the team cars. They really do want to get more water and more food on before the next climb. Chasing peloton there, a long way back, yet there they go. They start to make the climb. Making their way back towards Mount Coot-tha. This peloton will be getting information or hearing that the breakaway is already starting the climb. This is the descent down around towards Legacy Way Tunnel, but they head into the Mount Coot-tha exit. You can see there it's maybe a bit more than 1 kilometre. They're just taking the exit now for the Coot-tha climb. This is the main peloton of the elite men's race, or what is left of it. This is our lead group. There. So it is about 1 kilometre. They are just not even really on the climb yet. Oh, someone's had an issue there with their bike, or he's dropped something. Commissaire car just watching and making sure whatever happened there with that rider that he's been able to sort it out. I think that was James Fucci, one of the New Zealand boys, number 2. Kane Richards just tapping away a nice cadence, momentum at the back. Ben Dybel setting the pace at the front for this Coot-tha climb condition. Kane Richards is starting to slip back. He's in a little bit of trouble here as Dybel starts to turn the screws on this Mount Coot-tha climb, this time through. That's Schultz still rocking the bike up and out of the pedals in third wheel. Now Schultz, he sits down. One of the Bridge Lane boys there. We'll try and see who that is as well in a few moments' time. Cyrus Monk still there. Kane Richards slipping further and further back. This is not ideal for Richards. Cyrus Monk there looking very, very comfortable, staying seated, pedaling with a nice cadence. Ben Dybel still again, this time increasing the intensity and up and out of the saddle. Kane Richards has thrown it into reverse. We're seeing a great opportunity there for the e-bike spectators to push along their juniors and children to watch the elite men climb Mount Coot-tha. It's been doing that a few times. They were doing that with Ruth Corset and Kim Cadzow earlier on. Now they've come back to also do it and make pace with the elite men as well. Commissaire coming up to watch the behaviour of this little breakaway group. Elliot Schultz doing the pace setting on the front. Another Kiwi rider here. This is Fucci on New Zealand Fouch at the front. Also Jordan Smith there from Oliver's Real Food Racing. They start to make their way around towards the lookout section of Mount Coot-tha. Oliver's Real Food Racing doing the pace setting. Kane Richards, unfortunately for ARA Pro Racing, slipping back off the pace setting. I also saw, this is the back of the peloton of the elite men's race. Climbing well at the back. But as the commissaire starts to make their way forward, you can see these are actually some of the back markers. So there's a bit of a gap forming again in this chase peloton against the breakaway. Now the breakaway's even splintering as well. Ben Dyball again at the front, pushing along the pace. This is something where they really need to be concentrating. They are heading into their third lap of the motorway, which is the final lap of the motorway as well. Once they do that, they will be in towards the Tour de Brisbane and the 2022 Oceania Road Race Championship completion and climax here back at the RNA Showgrounds. Back of the elite women's race, Ruth Corset involved again in this little split. There's another little split in this race for the girls. Josie Talbot was here. Kim Cadzow as well. It looks as though the girls are back off Mount Coot-tha and back onto the freeway again. The ARA rider looks to be Danny DiFrancesco, and that might be Josie Talbot. I thought I saw a race number earlier on. Kim Cadzow now might be missing, the young New Zealand girl. Yeah, that is DiFrancesco. They're on the wheel of Ruth Corset. So 5 girls, 6 girls in total, one just rejoining there. We think that is Josie Talbot. We're just trying to get confirmation on the numbers. Josie was riding in great form in the Criterium event Friday night down in the King Street precinct and racing along the side of the RNA Showgrounds in Gregory Terrace, so she'll be familiar with the finish and the behaviour of what they need to do. Enjoying a bit of a descent there on the Western Freeway. Again, the girls, they're starting to really push the pace along. We see now that they are taking different lines through the witches' cones and out onto the Western Freeway. So that is their U-turn. Danielle DiFrancesco, this is the U-turn where they start to make their way back towards Brisbane. Josie Talbot reacting. Corset a little bit further back. DiFrancesco has climbed well over Mount Coot-tha for the final time of their road race, so she wants to be involved in this. The informed TMX make rider having a little bit of a chat there with compatriot Amber Pate, that is. Amber Pate rolling along nicely. Look at all the girls having a big drink here on the descent. This puts them into Legacy Way Tunnel, bringing them back in towards the RNA Showgrounds. Really, really downhill. Di Francesco's starting to wind it up along. They've all had a drink. Pate just trying to get in front of Ruth Corset. Wow, this is fast down through these tunnels. Amber Pate taking her turn to the front. Ruth Corset behind her. Then also one of the New Zealand under-23 girls, Emma Wiley, on the wheel of Corset. Josie Talbot will want to be involved in this. Back with the elite men across the top of Coot-tha. Schultze having a big chat there to Cyrus Monk about something. Also Schmidt. Here's young Jordan from the Oliver's Real Food Racing. Up and out of the saddle, rocking through these undulations. Keeping a good pace up through this section of the climb. Oh, Ben Dyball, Benny boy is starting to have a little bit of problem at the back there. It's not ideal for Ben. He was dictating the pace at the front side on the Brisbane side of the climb. He should be able to get back on the descent. He's a very good bike handler, Ben Dyball. And he'll rejoin the boys as they do start the descent. There we see the main peloton. They are closing in. Kane Richards will be pleased that the main peloton has caught him up and started to pick him up. So the descent for this breakaway group is all important. Obviously, we said earlier, smaller groups get to choose better lines. Lots of spectators up there watching across Mount Coot-tha of the elite men's Oceania championships go past. Cyrus Monk pushing the pace along. Straight past. Schmidt, Dyball a little bit further back. These undulations should be able to get Ben Dyball back in touch with. There he is. Dyball will get back on here quite easily enough. He's just looking at the back wheel of Jordan Schmidt. Trying to tuck there nicely. Cross through. Now remember, the elite girls have finished all their Coot-tha climbs. So the elite men trying to get these final climb of Mount Coot-tha out of the way. Elliot Schultz taking them up across the summit, looking around. Ben Dyball is back on. Dyball happy just to have a rest at the back. Cyrus Monk coming up to set the pace again. He's been aggressive all day, Cyrus Monk. Earlier on in the earlier laps of the Western Freeway, he was trying to excite a bit of pace into the first Mount Coot-tha. So he's come back from Tour of Thailand with pretty good form, Cyrus Monk. And the Mio Pro Racing team will be happy to have Cyrus on the roster for them this year. Remember though that plenty of speed and intensity. Mark O'Brien trying to excite the main peloton to get a wiggle on and try and catch this breakaway. Are they slowing down much? They look to be. They know the main group is pretty close. Oliver's Real Food Racing rider there, Jordan Schmidt. Here is the main group. So they're not far behind that breakaway. Liam Walsh has also been dropped on the climb. He would have been happy to be picked up by that chase group there. Cyrus Monk there on the back of the group. Number 66. Benny Dieball's had a little bit of a rest as well. He's filling in his turns this time. They will start the main descent very, very shortly, and it will be a fast one this time because they can see that the main peloton is behind them. And they're looking back. They've sort of eased off in intensity, you can see. Motos rejoining and getting ahead of this breakaway to inform them that they are descending and they will be at speed. Cyrus Monk, he's got a spring in his step today. Here goes Elliot Schultz, a little attack across to the left-hand side, past some spectators. He knows this climb very well. The boy is from Brisbane. They are summiting there, and there they go. This is the descent. Back down into the backs of Bardens and Toowong for our leaders. Watch though, we're seeing the peloton and the chase group will be right behind them also. There they are. That's the back of the main group descending now. So they are within catching distance, I would say. They must be able to almost see them. Moto comms and officials there in the convoy will be very busy. This is back with our elite women's lead group. It's a small group and we have them all just about numbered and named. There is Josie Talbot, Danielle Di Francesco wearing number 1 for the ARA Pro Racing. They will be on their return journey now into Brisbane and making their way back towards the RNA Showgrounds for the completion today of their Oceania road race. '14 is Georgie Howe. That is yesterday's Oceania time trial champion. So she's in good form this weekend, Georgie. And there is Pate. Amber Pate riding for the Inform TMX team. Ruth Corset, very experienced. She's had a good day out. The young Kiwi girl, Kim Cadzow, dragging her over Coot-tha, not once, but sort of yet twice. They're back out of the tunnel now and heading past Victoria Park. All still circulating and contributing nicely, rolling over turns. Di Francesco, Georgie Howe, Pate, Corset. Corset taking another big drink and getting ready for a very exciting few turns. Josie Talbot also getting the last little chance here on the downhill run through this little inner city bypass section to get a drink in before they start these turns and twists in between into the RNA Showgrounds Gregory Terrace finish line. Di Francesco elected not to race the Criterions Friday night. She was in the time trials yesterday. But her Oceania campaign really focusing on this road race today, following Talbot nicely. Josie Talbot just looking for Amber Pate. Amber Pate is a very fast sprinter and a very good finisher. And Georgie Howe is in super form coming into this road race today. She won the time trial yesterday, so she is fit and she is ready for this. Look how fast the girls are going. Little elbow there from Georgie to Amber. Corset enjoying the free wheel section down. This is the little inner city bypass minor tunnel. Rolling along. The elite women are coming back quickly towards Brisbane RNA Showgrounds. Their 2022 Oceania Championship about to be decided. Boy, oh boy, these are the usual suspects in our elite women's racing. Team cars and convoys, they come out of that little section and get back in onto the inner city bypass infrastructure and these bridges and flyovers that make their way here around the Fortitude Valley section. Ella Wiley, the Kiwi, she sits tail end Charlie there at the moment, just behind Josie Talbot. They crest up and over some of this complex bridge work and then descend down off that and come around back towards the showgrounds. It'll be a fast descent down off this section for them. Josie Talbot was warming up her sprint legs on Friday night in the King Street Kick-It Criterion, so Josie is pretty quick across this weekend so far. Georgie, tricky little exit here for them. Georgie Howe leads them through. Some of these corners will be tricky, so the first one in will be the first one out, and that's a complex decision to try and make. You've got to take risks. You've got to take these corners very, very aggressively. Amber Pate right behind Georgie Howe. Josie Talbot behind her. Danielle DiFrancesco really has to pull out the sprint card today. Corset, will she go early? She knows that these younger girls are very good sprinters and she wants to be right on her guard against these girls. Amber Pate and Josie Talbot, probably the fastest sprinters here. Georgie on the front at the moment. Josie Talbot taking the inside line here, so Josie's going to be super aggressive. They're about to enter Gregory Terrace. Josie Talbot, just like Friday night, Josie Talbot will get it. Danielle DiFrancesco, I think, will be second, and Amber Pate third. But Josie Talbot has just come around that inside corner at exactly the right time to take the win, I think, in that breakaway. The main peloton and group won't be too far behind them. Back with our elite men. They head back out to the Western Freeway yet again. Here's one of our ARA pro racing boys. You can see the people there behind on the bike path trying to keep pace with these elite men, but they are having no such luck. Here's Mark O'Brien. Mark O'Brien really trying to get the peloton moving along. They might have caught the breakaway on that descent because they were super close on the descent, so this could be all back together for their final turn. A little bit single file, and they are starting to all look around, so I think they have been caught. The Cyrus Monk group containing Ben Dyball and Schultz have been caught, and the main peloton is now all back together out onto the Western Freeway for the final time yet again. They come back down towards this section. I think they will also do the U-turn behaviour like the girls just did. Oh, there we are seeing Josie Talbot, who is absolutely just overcome with emotion at the moment with winning that race. Emily Herfoss there congratulating her. She is super, super pleased with that effort for her today. Well done to Josie Talbot. Anya Lowe there congratulating Josie on the win. Back with the elite men. Looks to be like Ben Dybel or one of his teammates are at it again. So they are also now doing the same as what we saw the elite women do. They do the U-turn now and return back to Brisbane via the Legacy Way tunnel. This is very, very fast. Here they go, entering the tunnel. They will come screaming through this inner city bypass infrastructure. We saw there the girls, lucky the girls had a smaller group because they had tricky little corners to negotiate with. Into the tunnel they go. The peloton all have the convoy, sorry, all have the lights on behind the riders. They are starting to bunch up. This is going to be a big bunch kick after, I guess, Mark O'Brien started to excite the peloton to chase that breakaway group, which contains Cyrus Monk, Ben Dyball and such. It looks to be Kane Richards from ARA Pro Racing on the front, trying to push the pace along just a little bit through the tunnel section. He struggled on the final climb of Coot-tha, but he was caught back up by the main group, and he was very relieved of that. Little break in the group coming through the tunnel. This is the climbing section of the tunnel. But you can see they are not slowing down much at all. It's reduced in numbers, but a bunch kick like this is going to be very tactical. A small Josie Talbot and Amber Pate group, they enjoyed small numbers through those tricky little turns and corners. You got big bunches like this coming in at speed. It will be very argy-bargy trying to get the advantage line and the inside line on corners to come in off that bridge infrastructure and inner city bypass section to bring them back around here to the R&A showgrounds for the finish. Not a good time to put your hand up in a bike race and look for feed and assistance when you're coming into the finish. Very, very fast through these tunnel sections. The outside elements of headwinds, sunshine and such, they sort of get taken away a little bit in under these tunnels. All the headlights are on of the convoy, showing the riders through, but it's well lit in there for them, so their safety is not really a concern of ours. The commissaire just watching the behaviour. They are weaving and ducking and dodging. Back markers were trying to take feed and assistance, putting their hands up there in the main peloton. Slowing down a little bit the pace here from the elite peloton. Is this the calm before the storm? We're about to see, as they exit these tunnel sections, some watt bombs getting dropped in amongst the group. Is Schultz back in there? Is Cyrus Monk back in there? Have they recovered? Some strong sprint finishes. They're starting to make their moves across. That looks to be Mark O'Brien. Richards starts to react as well to this little move from Marco. Starting to follow this lead rider. Can't quite make out the uniform there in the dark tunnel, but it's certainly a long tunnel section for them. Just grab onto that one.
Welcome back. Next time was coming through on the 53.
They calm down now, back together before they get out of this tunnel and get clearer of this final part of the section. Here's a launch in the dark across on the left-hand side of the road. He can see the light at the end of the tunnel. He wants to make that the finish line. Someone quickly reacts to him, trying to see who that is there in the darkness. Looks like a Bridge Lane rider. They are reacting. Richards doing a lot of work on the ARA. Kane Richards, after being dropped on that last climb, he won't have much firepower in the legs left. Mark O'Brien moving forward as well in the Informed TMX colours. All start to check over their shoulders. Starting to catch some back markers there of a different grade and a different race. The elite men passing them as they start to exit this tunnel. Diebold teammate coming forward a little bit now. The orange glow on their uniforms making it just a little bit hard to identify exactly who it is. Looking over his shoulder. Commissaires are watching all of these proceedings there. You can see the convoy in close succession behind the riders. The main peloton, gee, we saw really reduce in numbers early on over that first climb of Coot-tha. Here we are back into the daylight now, out of the Legacy Way tunnel. Earlier on, we saw back at the RNA Showgrounds area, some of the riders made their way back of their own accord after the repeated laps were being done. They were early withdrawals, and the white flag going up, I guess, making their way back to the RNA Showgrounds. But now we're starting a very, very tactical part of the race. Here is Ben Diebold again. He's had a rest. He's back now in aggressive mode, coming towards the Victoria Park section, back towards RNA Showgrounds, passing some of the back markers of the elite women's race. Diebold on the downhill run, picking the pace right up. Lots of anticipation back at the finish line here at the RNA Showgrounds in Brisbane for the arrival of this elite peloton. It's a pretty big group, a much larger group than what we saw in the elite women's race. Very, very fast downhill here. Witches cones there. Good respect just to wave the group across as they come down towards Brisbane. Remember, as we saw the girls do as well, someone looking across to the left-hand side of the road, was that a little attack or just someone moving out? Oh yes, it was an attack. Blue helmet, could be one of the Mio Racing boys. Into the tunnel. These corners are going to be very, very important. The last few turns, we saw Josie Talbot dive on the inside and then sprint down Gregory Terrace, just like she did on Friday night against Matilda Reynolds. She did again today against Amanda Pate and Danielle Di Francesco, and ended up being the winner today of the 2022 Tour de Brisbane and the Oceania Road Champion. ARA Pro Racing Sunny Coast, squeezing on the intensity up around these little bridge turns. Moto needs to stay in front because these elite men will really bomb down off this bridge network and into these little technical turns and corners as they come back towards the Gregory Terrace finish line. Cyrus Monk is right on the back, so Cyrus won't be involved in the sprint as yet unless he can move up from that position, but he is a long way back at the moment, Cyrus Monk, but he was certainly one of the early instigators on the earlier Mount Coot-tha attacks. Signs there saying slow down now, but I don't think they are intending on slowing down. This looks like to be one of the New Zealand riders coming forward. The Kiwis, after taking the Oceania time trial yesterday with Aaron Gate, they will be super impressed if they can take the daily double and get time trial and road race today. Look how strung out it is across this final little sections of bridging and turns. They swing into Gregory Terrace. Little uphill section here. Elite girls are being swallowed up and passed by the lead of the riders. Mark O'Brien, Bridge Lane, but I think they come around the corner. Here they are, Gregory Terrace. I don't know whether they'll catch these two riders though. A very, very strong sprint. This is a very strong sprint here. But I think the winner will be New Zealander. The New Zealander, James Fooch, will take the win. So New Zealand do go 1 and 2. Yesterday, Aaron Gate taking the time trial Oceania title, and today James Fooch taking the road race Oceania title of 2022. And he looked to be joined by a fellow countryman there because second place across the line, he was celebrating as well. There he is, number 2, and the Kiwis. There's yesterday's time trial winner as well. The Kiwi boys are super, super impressed with that. James Fooch from New Zealand is the Oceania champion of 2022. Ben Carmen there congratulating young James on a great ride. And the Kiwi compliment coming here today with plenty of intent and plenty of firepower, and boy oh boy, what an aggressive attack. Here is the lead out coming into these final few turns. There's James in second place. Bridge Lane and Inform, they tried to come up and make connection with these Kiwis, but as they come around that final turn and into Gregory Terrace, this is downhill, this section, and the lead out here was fantastic. But James coming around there, and second place sitting up after that lead out. And I think there one of the other New Zealanders coming across the line in third, so the Kiwis really having a good day out. Might have been Logan Curry from New Zealand in the under 23s. So Logan Curry might take under 23s, and then James Fooch might also be taking the Open Elite title for the Oceania Championships of 2022. So no wonder the Kiwis were pleased with that effort today. James taking the elite title and Logan Curry taking the under 23 title. New Zealanders here at the Tour de Brisbane and the Oceania Championship Road Race of 2022. Good weather conditions for the boys today. Mount Coot-tha proving a pivotal and tactical part of the event today for the races. Where is he?
Just come through the gap there.
Here we are with James Fouché, mate. What a race and what a finish for you, getting led out by the under-23 winner.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. It was a good day out. We had all the boys there. Unfortunately, Mitch Fitzsimmons, our young fella, he came down on the descent, so we were down a boy. But we were hoping to do a big lead out around the back for Gady or Tom Sexton, and then a few gaps opened up around the wee chicane, and I just put my head down and came through. And then, yeah, the old under-23 boy won. He's bloody strong, so fair play to him.
Mate, he gave you a great lead out. You Kiwi boys came here with plenty of form. Yesterday, Aaron had a great time trial. He won the Oceania time trial title, so you've had a good weekend here in Brisbane.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he took out 4 or 5 golds last week on the track and then backed it up with the time trial. So, yeah, it was cool. It's cool to take away the road race as well.
James, did you boys know about this course and you knew there was a couple of little technical turns you had to negotiate with? Once you come out of those tunnels, you needed to be near the front, I guess, to get the advantage there.
Yeah, absolutely. The right-hand turn off the motorway we thought was crucial because it was slightly uphill the whole way, and then so we wanted to be first into that. We were first, which was good, and then one of the boys behind me just yelled go, so I put my head down, and then must have been a few gaps open up because, yeah, I looked back and only one boy on the wheel, so no.
Yeah, you had all the Bridge Lane boys and the normal Australian strong forces, mate. They're all watching you, New Zealand boys. There you go, James Fouché, winner of the Oceania Road Race for 2022. Congratulations, James.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
There you have it. Also quite impressed with an under-23 lead out from a very, very strong young rider from the New Zealand camp.
Faster rider is going to come through the finish line on the right. Of course, all the riders can help us by keep you moving. Once you come across the finish line, we need to keep moving to the recovery zone. We need to keep the finish line nice and open. It's going to be...
Just watching the replay of the last few races as James Fouché was explaining. There he is there in second wheel position, coming back down just on the wheel of one of the ARA Pro Racing Sunny Coast boys. And as he said, we knew that they had some technical corners and we knew they just had to go. And he said, when they said go, they just went. It must have been about now. And then the under-23 rider came through with Logan Curry, and here they are here, the last few corners where James was in front and then Logan Curry came around, the under-23 rider, and did a great lead out. This is Logan Curry now with that big turn. James Fouché getting onto his wheel. And there you can see ARA, Bridge Lane, Inform TMX make. Curry still winding it on. This is where James was saying, go, go, go. And the New Zealanders, they took the turn first, and then it's a downhill sprint. Look at young Logan Curry. He's an under-23 New Zealand rider. They've all come off a track program as well. They are super fit, these Kiwis. And Curry getting second with James first. And I didn't quite catch third place there, but another New Zealand rider. So the New Zealand boys going 1, 2, and 3 here in Gregory Terrace for the Oceania Road Race Championship of 2022. They've made a daily double out of the weekend.
Congratulations to all the riders finishing strongly today in the Tour de Brisbane. The Oceania Championships.
While we are waiting for an interview with our female winner today, Josie Talbot, we are trying to find Josie. We're going to have a few words from some of our sponsors.
So the Common Good is an initiative of the Prince Charles Hospital Foundation, just located in Chermside in Brisbane, which is amazing. So our key focused areas are on heart disease, lung disease, mental health, dementia and organ transplant. So previously to partnering with NX Sports for the Tour de Brisbane, we actually ran our own charity ride, which was called the Cycle of Giving. It was a fantastic event and we were raising much needed funds for research into organ transplant. So that event wound down a couple of years ago and we're absolutely thrilled to be the charity partner for the Tour de Brisbane, this year the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane. And so far we've raised nearly $70,000 towards medical research into key areas of health that really affect about 90% of Australians. So it's a really important cause.
So some more detail on that. What are the benefits that we're going to see, or what is the Common Good going to achieve out of being the charity partner with the Tour de Brisbane?
Yeah, so what's really, I guess, different for us is we know that every $44 funds 1 hour of medical research. So right now we've already funded through the Australian Unity Tour de Brisbane nearly 1,400 hours of medical research. And our researchers are based in our labs just out at the Prince Charles Hospital. So we have a couple of those researchers riding tomorrow, and some of the work that we're actually doing in the space of heart disease. So there was a 4-year preclinical trial, and off the back of that and really dedicating those hours of research to that, we've actually had 13 lives saved just in the last 8 months or so. So our dedicated researchers have been focused on improving the viability of donor hearts. Normally a heart only lasts for about 4 hours, but through the work of our researchers, they've developed a new mechanism, which means these really, really precious life-saving hearts can now last up to 8 hours. Gives us a chance to get those hearts to the people who need them in a better condition than when they became available, and a longer distance. Obviously Australia, tyranny of distance, the more hours we can have those hearts available, the better.
We are not here on this planet to close our eyes to the world.
We are here to go out and experience its many wonders.
Because through our experiences,
We become bigger than ourselves.
travel has the power to shape our world.
And make us whole again.
With 30 hotel brands and endless experiences, where can we take you?
Absolutely. So the Common Good is an initiative of the Prince Charles Hospital Foundation, just located in...
Here we are seeing the repeat of our elite women's finish as they're exiting out of that tunnel. This is how the girls were taking proceedings. Georgie Howe doing plenty of pace setting. Amber Pate was very much attentive to what was going on. You can see there Josie Talbot. She ended up being our winner. Watch how she follows Corset and just make sure she's in the right place at the right time. This is a tough and testing little climb up and through that bridge infrastructure as they exit the tunnel. Ellie Wiley, the New Zealander, was at the back following Talbot. Georgie Howe setting the pace going down the hill as they started to make their way to that tricky little turn. There's a slow down sign there as they got it kick right at the bottom of this ramp coming off this bridge. Very single file. Georgie Howe still commanding the proceedings. Amber Pate just happy to watch her. Pate was looking for the opportunity to launch an attack. Ruth Corset wanted to stay there. She knew she wasn't going to be a sprinting force against these other girls, so Corset needed to tactically put herself in the right place at the right time. Josie Talbot still staying behind Amber Pate. This is where they turn left, a little bit uphill. Georgie Howe still being left on the front by Amber Pate. And Josie Talbot knew she had to get to this corner first. Watch Josie Talbot get to this corner first. It's an important part of the race. Danielle DiFrancesco now is on the wheel of Talbot. New Zealand girl moving forward a little bit.
Well done, guys. Well done.
Ruth Corset, there's Ruth Corset trying to go around and up the outside on the left-hand side. There goes the New Zealand girl. Danielle DiFrancesco also starts to react, but then Josie Talbot got that inside line. That's when Josie Talbot got the advantage to come into this downhill sprint. She did this on Friday night against Matilda Reynolds. And she was super, super fast through that little dying sections and the little tough climb up and out of the saddle again. Amber Pate trying to come for second. Danielle DiFrancesco, she seems happy and pleased with herself to get second place behind Josie. And they were very, very fast on the uphill. Minor placings going to the New Zealand girl and to Ruth Corset. He's one of our para-athletes. I think we saw this gentleman yesterday from the Victorian Institute of Sport involved in the time trials. Again, now enjoying the Tour de Brisbane.
Stay left, guys. Thank you. Stay left. Stay left. Thank you. We've got...
Yes, that is him. He was at the time trials yesterday. And another para-athlete and hand cyclist enjoying the Tour de Brisbane today. Beautiful sunny skies and a nice weather conditions for the lads to take part in the Tour de Brisbane for 2022. What a great organisation and great infrastructure to, and there's a fist pump between the boys to congratulate each other on a fantastic ride today. Lots of Grand Fondo riders making their way back down Gregory Terrace in a relaxing Sunday morning ride fashion to come through and complete the Tour de Brisbane for 2022. Lots of different distances on offer for families, riders and Fondo riders today.
Oh, welcome back one and all. You've just done the Tour de Brisbane. Congratulations. Keep heading on through to recovery, young folk. Fit young people of South East Queensland.
Yep.
You can do it up the hill, the last little climb. That's the way.
job. Through the recovery. Go grab a drink. Good job, well done.
Welcome back to all of these racers. Congratulations, fantastic riding today.
Out at the Tour de Brisbane and the Grand Fondo, we are going to talk with some of our Grand Fondo participants who are finishing off. Excuse me.
All right, got another vehicle on the course. Heads up, people. We've got a vehicle coming through Gregory Terrace.
Nice strong finish. I like it.
In Tour de Brisbane merchandise today, how was that out there today, mate? Did you enjoy that?
Fantastic, loved it. Not a bad ride for the first time in 30 years.
A great day to make a comeback here at the Tour de Brisbane, mate, for 2022. An opportunity to ride through some of that infrastructure.
Yes, yeah, it was excellent. Well organised, well put together. I'll be here next year.
Great feedback, great. Congratulations, mate. Welcome back. Go and grab a drink, enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Slower riders, please stay left. Stay left.
Hearing there, great opportunity for the Grand Fondo cyclists enjoying the tunnels, infrastructure and course of the Tour de Brisbane for 2022. Organisers have lucked out with the beautiful weather today for the riders and the races. The Oceania Road Race Championships also being a feature part of the Tour de Brisbane weekend, but also today the Grand Fondo riders as important and getting the privilege to circulate through Brisbane, some of the southern busways, also the northern busways for the Fondo riders, and different distances as well. So there's community rides and different distances for fathers, daughters, sons, aunts and uncles, and even grandparents to circulate through Brisbane and enjoy an opportunity to ride through inner city Brisbane, which we don't normally get to do without traffic and without lights and interruptions. But today, a fantastic opportunity.
Hope you've had a great ride.
And the weather has really turned it on. Brisbane hosting and practicing with events like this for Tour de Brisbane. Even getting an opportunity there for some family pets to ride along with people for the Tour de Brisbane on a sunny Sunday morning.
Oh, here we go, another group of people hitting the finish line hard. Well done, team. They are smiles, not grimaces, I absolutely guarantee. Look at this young fella. Super finish.
Many age groups here covered in the Tour de Brisbane Grand Fondo events this morning.
Through to the recovery area, we want to keep it nice and clear.
Oh, he'd already gone.
We're going to have thousands and thousands of people crossing this finish line, folks. Enjoying the highways and byways of Brisbane. Here at the Tour de Brisbane, brought to you by Australian Unity, the common good, and it's live in Queensland.
We might soon try to track down some of our elite women from our Oceania Championship event and try to find namely Josie Talbot for a bit of a talk. Another hand cycle para-athlete coming across the finish line. And people are amazed at the speeds that some of the hand cyclist athletes do circulate at. I watched them in the time trial and they were super impressive and being low to the ground as well. Not really affected by the headwind conditions we saw yesterday, but great to see our para-athletes involved in the Oceania Championship weekend yesterday for the time trial and again today in the Grand Fondo event.
Welcome
Many community riders and lots of merchandise on display from the Tour de Brisbane. A lot has gone into this, many weeks and months of planning. So, some disruptions haven't been ideal, but it is great to see the event back in its entirety now. And lots of people coming along of all different ages and all different lifestyles to enjoy the Grand Fondo aspects of Tour de Brisbane of 2022. The competitive sense and the elite races and junior races coming through. We will try to confirm some of those results a little later this morning, but a beautiful Sunday morning for the different distances and Grand Fondo people to come through for the completion of the 2022 Tour de Brisbane. Convoy cars and a lot of admin for the riders back at the RNA Showgrounds. The Brisbane Cycling Festival will have lots on offer today as well in the showgrounds today, with demonstrations and displays and exhibitors right across the day. And it's a part of the festival atmosphere which the organisers are hoping to create here again in 2022. Not only the King Street precinct being very popular and a nice Sunday setting for lunch, but also the Brisbane Cycling Festival in the RNA Showgrounds being a great spectacle to come down and see some of the exhibitors and the displays that we do have as part of the Tour de Brisbane this year right at the RNA Showgrounds. An iconic landmark in Brisbane and a great day. A great day for all the spectators and family and friends after they've completed the Tour de Brisbane to come back in and relax at the RNA Showgrounds here in the heart of Brisbane.
Got it done for 2022. Blow your horns if you have them. Sound your bells. You've done something wonderful today. You've got out and enjoyed a healthy and active lifestyle. Cruise through the streets of Brisbane. Kept the cars off the road. We love that. Now, folks, if you're hanging out here in King Street and you've reunited with your loved ones or just someone you admire, perhaps, why not head on into the exhibition grounds and go and visit some of our wonderful expo store holders who have food and drink. We're going to do medal presentations in a little while. All sorts of cool stuff.
In the orange.
Ice, baby. So head on into the precinct. There's that sort of something in there.
Here's some of the girls from the girls' race as well. Grab that.
Shows and activities and demonstrations and sponsors and merchandise.
What?
Yeah. Hayley Jones from Giant Racing Team. We're with the team captain, Hayley Jones from the Giant Race Team. Hayley, how was your race today in the elite women's category?
Yeah, my race today was not great. It's Mount Coot-tha. I'm more of a sprinter, but I just went out, helped the girls, did my job, tried my best, and then, yeah, much preferred the crit on Friday night personally.
Hayley, was it great to take part in the Oceania Championships today using that Western Freeway? How was that for the first time to have a road race scenario along that Western Freeway infrastructure?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and like going through the tunnels is really cool. Just things that you never know, and like we're going up one of the hills in the tunnel, and I thought, I've never thought about this as being a hill in the car, because you'd never normally ride your bike anywhere near there.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to have bike racing through those sort of landmarks here in Brisbane for us. But of course, Coot-tha's a tough, testy climb for anybody. But today we saw Ruth Corset and the Kiwi rider doing a bit of damage in your race early on in those first early laps.
Yeah, look, they all took off and I was straight gone. I was like, there's no way I'm staying on with them. But they made it really tough for some of the girls that usually would be really good climbers. So it was a pretty good race and definitely really hard one out there today.
Thanks, Hayley. We're glad you had sunshine on your shoulders today. We didn't have any rain, so enjoy your recovery. Take care. Hayley Jones.
Is it over the loudspeaker?
No, it's on SBS TV.
Okay.
Here you are with informed TMX make rider Elliot Schultz. Schultzy in the breakaway today, mate, but it all came back together in those dying stages of your race today.
Yeah, it was a hard race. I honestly thought once we had the break was established, I kind of thought that was it. There was practically like most of the teams represented, and then over the climb it like split up a little bit, and I think like once you get onto that flat section when it's like the riders are less, the big peloton like moves a lot faster, so we kind of just got swallowed up, and yeah, that's it.
Mate, I saw the group was organised, everyone was rolling turns, and as you said, there was lots of teams represented in there, so it looked as though it had enough organisation in there for that to stick away. Mark O'Brien back in the group sort of was trying to get things started, but once they started moving, that main peloton caught you up pretty quick. How were the tunnels though, or what was the approach coming back to Brisbane like?
Yeah, like the team was awesome. We had a great race. But with those tunnels, like I was saying before, like when you've got like the peloton versus like a small breakaway, like you just roll along so much easier in that big group. So it's pretty hard to go solo, like, or in a select group that far from the finish. Maybe if the finish was a bit closer to that last climb, you would have seen it probably like stay away and a bit more like commitment and things. But it was like a bit of an awkward length to the finish, so people were a little bit hesitant. So yeah.
All right, Elliot, great race, mate. We know you've had a big weekend of racing here. Congratulations yet again, and enjoy your recovery. Elliot Schultz from Inform, the team having probably not the result they were looking for today, and their team captain, Brenton Jones. Oh, we found with us too Ben McConnor, the Grand Fondo winner of the Tour de Brisbane. Ben, mate, congratulations first of all, and well done on taking part in Brisbane, Tour de Brisbane 2022. How did you find the ride?
It was nice and easy for the most part, and Coot-tha was the part that separated the boys from the men, and yeah, gave it a red hot crack and managed to get in a good group.
Mate, how iconic is it when you leave the showgrounds here and you start making your way through Brisbane to ride across the Story Bridge with no cars? That must be a bit of a dream come true for cyclists like yourself.
Absolutely. It's an opportunity that we only get once a year, so it's great to use the best of Brisbane roads.
And the busways and the tunnels, Ben, again, another part of infrastructure that cycling, to have it to yourselves as a group, it's a big privilege, isn't it? It's great.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great that the cyclists get to use it today, but also all the motorists who are very considerate towards the race on today. So thanks to everyone out there, and thanks to Tour de Brisbane.
Well mentioned, Ben. Congratulations, mate. Someone who's actually pinned on a number and made a race out of it today. Ben taking out the Grand Fondo presentations today. Well done, Ben.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
No, not winner. I won the nationals. With the Pilates.
Here we are with Sydney Uni Steminade rider Alicia Pilates. Alicia, how was that today for you, racing in there as one of the juniors?
Yeah, it was pretty tough, backing it up after track nationals, Oceania track, and yeah, now TT and road race. It was, good stint of racing, and yeah, the girls made it really hard the whole day.
It seemed to start off a little bit quieter and slower when the red flag first came in. Did it take a little while for the pace to really pick up in your race?
Yeah, really lit up Mount Coot-tha. There was a few splits in the first lap after that, and it came all back together before we went up the second time round, and then same thing happened, and it was the first group for the win. So
I guess the tunnels are exciting, but also the sunshine today is exciting. We had a little bit of rain around the time trial yesterday afternoon as it was finishing, so lucky to get away with this one with sunny blue skies above.
Yeah, for sure. It was nice to have it a bit more cooler than the usual Brisbane weather, but that was pretty cool.
Thanks. Congratulations yet again for coming along today, and we hope you enjoyed the Tour de Brisbane.
Thank you so much.
There you have young Alicia
really enjoying Tour de Brisbane and saying that some of the racing action was super tactical, given that Mount Coot-tha was a big part of it today. Plenty of Tour de Brisbane Grand Fondo people coming in. They are really celebrating and really enjoying the opportunity to race and ride. Who we saw with Ben earlier on, one of the racers who had a big race today in his Grand Fondo. He was pretty excited to come back in and be the first rider today across the line for the Grand Fondo result. Yeah. Here we have third place Mackenzie from our junior under-19 women's race today. Mackenzie, a smaller group in your field today. We saw your some early footage. The bunch was all rolling over and circulating very nicely, making good pace along the Western Freeway.
Yeah, we were working together well until the hill. It split up a bit and there was a breakaway. I got dropped a little bit down the descent, but got to catch up, which was good.
Mackenzie, great opportunity to ride through some of these tunnels. We've heard some other people talking about the speeds and the, I guess, the opportunity to race in these tunnels. Were they sort of windy in there, or did you find it, how was it through that infrastructure that we don't normally get to ride on with our bikes?
I think it was really fun, but it was definitely really hot. Like, I think the heat really affected us. But yeah, we did pick up some speed in there, which is good.
Congratulations, Mackenzie, on third place today. That's a great achievement. Thank you for attending Tour de Brisbane with us. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
There's Mackenzie.
Welcome back, guys and girls. That's how you hit the finish shoot.
Grand Fondo riders here sporting great to see some of the common good merchandise being used around the riders here today. Fantastic to see them. Common Good being a great charity. Here is Tom Sexton, second place in the Elite Men's Oceania Championships today. Congratulations, mate. You boys came here with a big race plan today.
Yeah, definitely. We knew a lot of the Aussie teams were going to stick it to us, you know. Me and Gatey got 1-2 in the time trial yesterday as well, so, you know, we're coming to grab all the jerseys. And, no, it's awesome to be able to pull off a good result with me and James.
Exactly, mate. A lot of track background I'm hearing from you Kiwis, so that must be a big part of your training and obviously the cycling regime you have over there.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Aaron are in the New Zealand team for the track, so we've actually been in Brisbane for maybe 10 days already, and we raced the track champs last week, and he took out a lot of the titles and I got a lot of silvers, but yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah, we heard you were pretty dominant down there. The course today, mate, these Western Freeways, Mount Coot-thas and such, we don't normally get to race on those. How did you find it today if you're not familiar with Brisbane? But, you know, was it enjoyable for you, that course?
Yeah, it was an awesome course out there. The freeway is so cool, such a unique experience, you know. You're going like 55, 60 k's an hour. It's a perfect asphalt, and yeah, it's fast as, and then to come onto the climb now is a really cool little loop as well. Cool descent, awesome little climb as well, which I think split the race up enough that made it good for us.
Kiwi camp must be happy, mate, getting 1-2 in the elites, and also I think the under-23 jersey for Oshis as well today.
I don't think we got the under 23. I think the other guy in the front two was an Aussie, was he? I'm unsure.
We'll check on that. Thanks, and congratulations again. A great ride from you guys today.
Thank you very much.
There you have it. Kiwis saying they're coming over here to enjoy grabbing some of the jerseys for the Oceania Championships of 2022. And boy, oh boy, they were dominant on the track and also dominant in the road race today as well.
Hope you had a great ride out there this morning. Thanks for helping us raise funds for the common good.
More of our para-athletes coming across the line as well and finishing off strong.
Make sure you check out the beautiful fleet of cars they've supplied for the race convoy today. Absolutely stunning array of vehicles supplied by Jaguar Land Rover. Welcome home, guys. Welcome back. Great effort, guys. You have made it home. Stunning bit of riding. Welcome back. Congratulations. Welcome home. Last big push up, Gregory Terrace, but you are home safe and sound. Well done, guys. Here's the finish, coming down fast, down Gregory Terrace. Excellent finish. Well done, guys. Keep left if you're a slower rider. Congratulations, welcome home. Well done, sir. You've made it home. That's it, guys. If you can hear me on Gregory Terrace, you're nearly there. Keep pushing. Get up this hill. You have completed the big, what is it? Tour to Brisbane. One of those. You're not running, you must be cycling. Tour to Brisbane. Welcome home. Strong finish here, well done, guys. Way to hit the finish line. Outstanding bit of cycling. Excellent speed, well done, welcome home.
Here we are with Keenan, a local Brisbane boy, enjoying the Tour to Brisbane today, enjoying the full 110 distance. Mate, how was that for a Sunday morning?
Mate, unreal. You know, came up here in the morning. We started at 6:30, which is usually a good time to start to ride at this time of the year. And mate, it was just great to be out there and get amongst it with the guys and enjoy the environment and the atmosphere, really. It was fantastic.
Now listen, were you riding around with Jans Kurtz? I noticed your uniform there that you have on.
Yeah, so Jans Kurtz is my coach. So we ride for Team Choice Homes and Just Ride down on the coast, the Gold Coast. So I'd probably take this this position in the ability that I've had to be able to do this year in terms of riding from him. So it's been unreal.
Mate, absolutely. Now, this opportunity, I've been asking a few people this morning about the Story Bridge and the busway and the tunnels. Like, this is really an iconic event, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is, especially for Southeast Queensland. You know, you really never get to ride in the routes that you go over the Story Bridge with no cars, through the Legacy Tunnel, do Coot-tha, descend with no one around. So, mate, it's an unforgettable experience. It's the first one I've done, but I'll definitely do it each year, I think. So it's
yeah, good point, Keenan. I think having that safety and that peace of mind that you've got just yourself and your friends to enjoy the experience with is really a limited opportunity for us, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, there's the guys that I was riding with, and the ability to just take up the whole road over when you're riding and not have to worry about cars in the way or people, if the dogs or anything like that. So, mate, it's fantastic.
Congratulations, Keenan. Well done, mate. We're glad you came up from the Gold Coast to enjoy it, and well done. Enjoy the rest of your recovery.
Thanks, mate. Much appreciated. Thank you.
There's Keenan, really a big smile on his face this morning, enjoying the Tour de Brisbane for 2022. Lots of riders coming through there, waving to their spectators and supporters as they cross the finish line.
Welcome home.
Great Sunday morning weather conditions for some of our Tour de Brisbane Fondo riders to finish off. It's really a great Sunday experience in R&A Showgrounds.
Welcome back, one and all. You made it, guys.
The Brisbane Cycling Festival is a big part of this weekend, and this is, I guess, almost the penultimate event, with participation numbers today well into the thousands. And we're going to let them enjoy the Tour de Brisbane for 2022. And we thank you for your attendance and coverage today with our races. The elite winners and Oceania champions going away very, very happy and very successful with their results today here around Tour de Brisbane, and using these iconic infrastructure and motorways which they don't normally use for road cycling. So a great event, and let's hope it's one here to stay.
The Tour de Brisbane